Weather Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Have the rain gear handy today. Rain will be likely. It will be moderate to heavy at times, staying mild today with temperatures returning to the upper 50s this afternoon. Rain will wind down into tonight. It'll turn colder with temperatures dropping to the upper 30s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier sitting in for Dan today, and we have the ability to kind of change gears a little bit, talk about things a little bit differently because you have me at the helm. I'm your favorite libertarian. I'm really aggressively trying not to join sides. I like to be objective and be a problem solver. So I put things through a machine and see how I feel about them. I'm constantly adding new data, and I'm open to changing my mind at any given time. So it sets the stage for being an absorber of all information. So that's what I choose to do, and invite you guys along with the conversation today as we can delve into the same stuff they're used to talking about, but let's not make statements. Let's ask questions and probe into it and see if we can get curious about solving some of these problems. So we're in a if this week was it got my sleep schedule and everything so jacked up. We had daylight savings times that comes out at on Sunday, messes up my sleep schedule. So now I'm waking up at 3:30 in the morning. I don't even know what time it really is because I don't, I think that I'm snapped back, and being pushed into a new sleep pattern, but it's jacking up my sleep schedule. Not great ability to think through heavy things this week. So I had to take a ton of supplements to offset it, drink a ton of coffee. And then you get to Tuesday and you get a late election returns night. So again, my sleep schedule gets jacked up again. Checked out because I was just done with it. Like on Wednesday or Thursday, I really didn't want to hear much about any kind of political anything because I was tapped out. I was done with it. And now, the election results and the returns that are coming out of some of these states are slow trickling in into Friday and then a Monday. I think most voters and people who are reasonable think that that's a little bit much, right? You lead up to all of this anxiety and all this energy put into the election, and then you have the results span multiple days. I'm not surprised that there's so much conspiracy and distrust in a system when, it doesn't make mathematical sense when you can have a state like Ohio and Florida that can count through their numbers very easily and very predictably, right? We do it really well. And you have other states that it's just a raging dumpster fire and nobody can even explain rationally why it's as bad as it is. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time today trying to dig into the math. And as a voter, let's try to be in the center. If it's just a mathematical equation, can you get accuracy and access to votes, which is very important, at the same time that speed and accuracy, right? The more time that an election draws out, the at least from the optics standpoint, the less voters trust what's actually happening. I mean, I was listening the other day, I think it was yesterday, that there was a counting location somewhere in Nevada, and there were Penske trucks, like unmarked box trucks that are pulling up. Now, nobody knows what's in those things, right? Nobody does. But what do you think's going to happen if you're 4 days into a count and box trucks show up at a counting location? I mean, think about it from a practical standpoint. If you've got to trust a government and that happens, if you're going to keep bringing in legitimate counted ballots, you got to lay down some PR that makes it so that doesn't look as terrible as it is, it actually looks. And so you got to do a little bit more to bring the public in and be a little bit more transparent, or else everybody's just going to think you're getting away with a steal. I mean, people are baited, waiting for something to go down. I mean, you could feel it's palpable. And so we don't want half of the elector, to mistrust a system. We need people to have faith in a system. So mathematically, here's the way that Joe files this away, and this is kind of middle of the road. So I think in every election, the return of results that you see on the television is a little bit fake, right? Even in states in Ohio, I believe that they still count provisional ballots and things that didn't quite make sense, and maybe somebody got something wrong, and they put them through these filters that those results come in later. But there aren't enough of those anomalies where they can't call the election, even if they all come in a certain way, it's not enough to change the election. So they make the call in spite of them still having 5 days worth of things to count, right? Now, in states where they have different rules, the anomalies might not be anomalies. They might have so much quantity where you might have 10,000 provisional votes in Ohio. If we had identical systems with Pennsylvania, and I'm just guessing here, that they might have 5 million provisional ballots that have to go through an anomaly system, a system that's not meant to handle the scale of having it being part of a primary method of voting. And then so it takes all these days, and there's enough of them in that sample that it could change the end of the election. So those states have to wait till that stuff comes in. So, and again, it's the optics of it, where if they guess right and they're still counting, but then it stays right, they don't have to, change what their guess was down the road, then we trust that and we have faith in it. But it's got to play out that way, or else there's going to people be probing in it. And I think the election strategies where, the Democrats and the left have really started, with the ballot harvesting, I'm going to put that in quotes, is an actual strategy where you target people who are, Democrat voters, and you try to ease a pathway, try to make a landing strip that is free from friction as you possibly can. So you flood Democrat voters with easy ways of voting, and then those who would have passed on this election end up taking your easy path and using it and voting. So you get all these provisional ballots from people who probably would not have shown up in polls. And then you have the other side. Now, here's my objection. If it's a rule that applies to everyone, just because your opponent takes better advantage of it than you do, once you know that it's there, like it didn't change yesterday, it's kind of at your fault if you're not taking up the same kind of strategies. There's nothing stopping the right from taking these easy path ballots and targeting areas that are Republican voters, and then doing the exact same thing and saying, running your own PR campaigns that say, hey, you know what, here's what the Democrats are doing, and if we were going to win an election again, we got to do the same thing. And then it's no longer an advantage strategy. It's just a part of our election cycle. And then we can build in counting mechanisms that take those now preferred methods of voting, make sure that they go through the filters of accuracy, and then we can count them quicker so it doesn't take 92 years to getting an election result. That's how I'm thinking it's actually going down. But the guise is that if your team wins, you always paint the picture that somehow they were wrong. The other guy was cheating. And it's a fair argument. It's reasonable to think when you lose, you want to make sure that it was legit. And if somebody makes the mistake of making it impugnable, if that's not even a word, but you know what I mean. If you make it so that it's easy to take critique of, then you asked for it. And so I think that curiosity, whether or not, I'm always answer these things with a question mark at the end. So when all of the Donald Trump stuff happened, right? So anytime that anybody says, hey, there was probably cheating, I'm not real quick to say, no, there wasn't, because I don't know there wasn't. And I'm not going to say, yes, there was, because I don't know that there was. So my question mark is well, was there? And I give you a reasonable amount of time to plead your case. And if it sounds like it's sour grapes, then I don't put a lot of, thing. If it's mathematics and an observation that those things are so easily dispelled. And that's the biggest problem I have with making people feel so badly about the electoral process, is it doesn't have to be that way if explained properly and if there was transparency. But the political game is maddening. There's no reasonability in it. It's a hardcore competitive deal. And, when one person takes the strategy, it snaps back like a pendulum in the other direction, and it just gets craziness. And the worst part about it is you and I, as the voters, we feel the ill effects of all of that. Like, we get worn out by it. And when it comes down to it, all of our emotions taken away in a process that there's so little in our control. We have a little vote, but we have all of this investment into an outcome. So that's my piece, I'll say, about the electoral process. They really got to get their act together. And you have a lot of smart people that are sort of like trapped in an industry, and I'm going to call the political system an industry, because there is a gargantuan amount of power and money that flows through the political industry. But there's smart people in there, but it's a really dumb system. Like, it's so primitive, it's not even funny. Where intelligent people aren't able to practice their intelligence when they get there. They have to almost dumb themselves down, where a bunch of cavemen are walking around just to trying to establish positioning and power and getting reelected on the day that they are elected. And from our standpoint, that's sheer stupidity. Like, why would I send in a smart person into government if all that's going to happen when they get there is find out that they're completely useless on an intellectual level? Anyway, so there's my little piece, 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570. I am streaming over on Facebook, and so if you're on my either my personal page or the 570 WKBN, I appreciate it. And Jeff Blackstone's out there. I appreciate you checking in. Let's see. I do a lot of odd stuff, right? So ghost hunting and aliens and physics and time travel. Sometimes I'll bring it up on the show, but I lose half of you when I do it, so I'm not going to. But Jeff, yes, we'll talk about that on one of our other shows, so that we'll save everybody from that kind of stuff. So 330-729-9977, or text me at 333-1570. I did see an article about YSU, and I have a better hunger for local news and local investment and local politics than I do in national. I like to know what's going on in my neighborhood, and I feel like if I invest my energy and my resources into my local government, there's some payoff that is palpable. I feel like I can add a little bit more to the conversation. Can you imagine Joe going to the halls of the federal government and sharing a good idea that will fall on so many flat ears, or fall flat on so many deaf ears? But if I go to my local, council meeting and I share an idea, what my chances increase by a factor of infinity, that if I have a good enough idea, that somebody on that panel might halfway take me up on it. So if I use my creativity to change my local area, use my local area as the example, we might be able to propagate good ideas to come out by actually executing them on the local level. And that's why I believe in local way more than I do on the federal. But even state is something. And we have a lot of local voices here in the state that are making big moves and doing good things on the state level. So that's another one like I said, my priority is always going to be on my city. And the Valley's a nice snapshot, right? You can deal with your township or your city, or you can go one out and we can group Youngstown, Boardman, Canfield, Struthers, whatever. Downside is that you got some infighting within that whole Mahoning Valley group because of, again, political power and positioning and finances. But there's more, so like it's a very homogenous area as far as work ethic, and a lot of the resources and finances and language will be very similar within the area. So you can get a lot done, even if there's some disagreement within those groups. There's still a lot of stuff that you can get done on the local level. But here's an article where YSU is trimming or considering trimming more of the courses. I've been on both sides of this, or not personally, but I've seen both sides of this argument. So I want to hear from you what you think from a local level. YSU operating from a business perspective, state-funded school, but run as a business standpoint, that if some of these classes and some of these areas of study are not attracting students. So if a student has less than 11 students in it, it is put on the docket for, consideration for cutting it from the total curriculum, because they have to field it as if it were a full classroom. And if it's not, then it's on the, on the slate for cutting. And there's some disapproval because some of these classes are either, funded by sort of legacy, where people have set money aside specifically for these things in the arts. And even if they don't attract a bunch of people, then they're still positively funded. But the overall is that, what shape or, what image would you like the university to take on? A university that is producing marketable skills that can be put into the, the workforce that have a demand? Or do you have a, keeping some unimportant, I guess. So things that people do not value or out of demand topics, do you take them off, or do you keep them alive in spite of them not having a demand, or something in between? Are there some things that you want to be like 75% marketable fields of study, and then 25% of the arts, even if that they did drop below that, that this is up to you. But as we see YSU kind of cutting down on the academic side, some of the curriculum, it's always going to ramp up on the athletics, and that creates the whole disparity between if you're judging based on, okay, well, we can agree if you across the board cut all of everybody's budget by 25%, that's something that at least most people would reasonably listen to. But if you have one department that gets money and one department that's fully funded sheds money, then it's hard to register that and make sure that that's a fair. It almost feels like the administrators aren't considering, like I did, and calling some of these arts and trafficked curriculum or fields of study as unimportant, and because we can't get people to take the classes and show up. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number. You can also text me at 333-1570, and I'll read those text messages when we come back. You can also message on Facebook. If you find Joe Danier on Facebook, you can message over there and I'll see those messages. Also with the 570 WKBN Facebook page as well. So we're going to take a break. We'll come back. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
If you manage a business, you know how important it is to continually find new customers and new ways to save money. Here at iHeartMedia, we can help with both. We reach more consumers in your area than anyone else, and we can give you access to those potential customers more cost-effectively than anyone else across radio, digital, podcasting, OTT, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. So contact us at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
100 years ago in 1921, the law offices of Johnson & Johnson opened our doors. 1 century later, we're still here, with our 4th generation proudly serving the legal needs of the Mahoning Valley. So if you're in need of solid legal counsel regarding business law, trusts, estate planning, or wills, call the law offices of Johnson & Johnson today at 533-1921. That's 533-1921. Johnson & Johnson, since 1921. Legal counsel for the times of your life.
Looking for a new and rewarding career? Then join the team at Trivium Packaging in Youngstown. Trivium is now hiring machinists, operators, and technicians. Starting pay $21 per hour. Competitive benefits starting day one. And a $4,000 signing bonus. Be part of a clean, safe environment that is working to make a positive change to our planet. Be a part of the Trivium Packaging team. Find your next career at Trivium Packaging. Apply at careers.triviumpackaging.com.
The Fireplace, featuring party pans to go plus soups and sauces by the quart. From Tommy and Karen, welcome to The Fireplace.
The Fireplace, Poland, 2075 East Western Reserve Road. Open Tuesday through Saturday at 4:30.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
So here we are. It's already Friday, and you haven't called? Come on. Don't put this off another week. It's too important. If you know of someone that is suffering from peripheral neuropathy, you can pretty much diagnose it yourself. You've got that burning, tingling feeling. It's probably got it. And we've got a group here that can help you fix it. What they do is they help your body regrow nerve cells. It's the only cure. It really is. They've helped over 7,000 patients with a 90% satisfaction rate, and they can help you put your life back together. And here's the thing about it. Medication is not going to help this if that's what you have. So call Dr. Sean Ritchie, Dr. Jared Yevans, good men. 330-953-3339. They're in Poland, right next to Walgreens. No cost for the initial consultation. It's too important not to do it. 330-953-3339. 330-953-3339. Come Monday, I hope you've done it.
In celebration of our 73rd anniversary, Merritt Floor & Home will be holding a drawing to give away $7,300 worth of prizes to current customers and all those making a qualifying purchase during the month of November. And to make it easy, all flooring will be reduced up to 40%, along with 0% financing. Daily drawing will be held December 1st through 12th. You could be a winner. Visit a Merritt Floor & Home showroom for details on Route 168 in Villant, PA, or Route 45 in North Jackson, Ohio. PA number 2511.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today we got 100% chance of rain, high of 58 degrees, a little bit windy. Saturday we got a chance of rain 40%, and Sunday also 60%. But it's going to start getting cold down into the 40s and 30s. So Sunday down at 36 degrees with a low of 28. So we probably are going to see some snow before this this precipitation moves out, and it is 58 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. I do want to also acknowledge Veterans Day is today. So if you're out and you see a vet, make sure that you thank them for their service. We all ought to be very, we ought to honor them every day, but today especially, let's make sure that we pay, strict attention and those people sacrificed a bunch so that we can enjoy what we have today. And I am thankful personally. So yesterday was, I believe, the anniversary of the Marine Corps, and then today we have Veterans Day. So thank you all in this listening audience for your service. Carter Stone says, always enjoy your show when you fill in for Dan. Thank you, Carter. Appreciate it. This texter says, without Trump and Trumpism's red wave, without inflation, blue wave, Republicans need to move past conspiracy, science denial, and Trumpism. The country needs a strong Republican Party, not the party that is. And I couldn't agree more. Now, so how do you feel out there, voters, when you hear that we're probably next Tuesday away from hearing that Trump is going to announce his candidacy? And it's probably in some realms welcomed and can't wait for this to go down. And then some, even under, moderate Republicans, are probably a little annoyed that this is going to go down this way. Because I think the stuff that you mentioned, where these all symptoms, where there is conspiracy theories and there are people who mistrust science and there are people who think the economy is, doomed. All of these are symptoms of just not being satisfied by our politicians in what they're able to do. This seems like a rush to the bottom, right? If somebody else is in office, then, I can see gleefully just welcoming and wishing ill happenings when the other party's in power. And that's just a terrible flop, because then it pendulum swings the other way. Then the other party gets in there and, there's another voting for the worst so that they don't do well. Instead of people like me who want us all to win, there's enough prosperity to go all around. And if we're constantly just badgering the other side, they're just going to badger us when they get in power. It's a never ending cycle of awful. So I encourage all of you to take it a little bit, take the high road and try to help everyone and be in favor of us, the people. All right, 330-729-9977 or text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hey, this is Ron Verb for Dr. Figliano and his Centers for Hearing Care. 80% of the folks out there that have hearing problems never get them addressed. It's hard to imagine, and I don't want you to be in that 80%. I want you to have a great experience, get that problem fixed, and that journey starts at the Centers for Hearing Care. So what you have to do, whether it's you or someone in your family, is pick up that phone and make a call to the Centers for Hearing Care, 330-779-8096. The Centers for Hearing Care. The beginning to good hearing starts there.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bills. That's bills. Enter it now. Stories you're thinking about.
Improve border security.
There's more people than ever coming.
It's a humanitarian crisis. Crime.
Because I am a mom too.
Check in for this story and more.
It's important to know the facts.
The news stories are on 570 WKBN.
President Biden is in Egypt. He's met with President al-Sisi. Next, words at the UN Climate Summit. ABC's Karen Travers in Washington says this is just the start of what could be an important trip to North Africa and Asia.
Aides say he arrives with wind at his back after signing into law the Inflation Reduction Act, which contains $369 billion in investments in climate and clean energy programs. Next up is Cambodia for a pair of conferences with Southeast Asian nations. Then it's on to Indonesia for the G20 summit, where he'll meet in person for the first time with China's President Xi.
Meanwhile, in the U.S. today, Vice President Kamala Harris will commemorate Veterans Day, attending a ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. The vote counting continues in Arizona and Nevada, and Senate races there, also the governor's race in Arizona. And high-profile cryptocurrency exchange FTX says it's begun the process of filing for bankruptcy. The company's CEO has also resigned. Brian Clark, ABC News.
We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Have the rain gear handy today. Rain will be likely. It will be moderate to heavy at times, staying mild today with temperatures returning to the upper 50s this afternoon. Rain will wind down into tonight. It'll turn colder with temperatures dropping to the upper 30s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle. My company is Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 to provide custom blinds, shades, and shutters at affordable prices. Our blinds are easy to install and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive professional. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Hi, friends. Let me recommend a great dentist for you. He's across from Walgreens in Poland. Dr. Larry Donopoulos. From teeth whitening in the office or take home to root canals, Dr. Larry Donopoulos is your guy. 330-757-1722.
Zoom Extreme from Armstrong offers superior speed and coverage for all of your devices. Every smart TV, every laptop, every gaming system. Don't trust your cell phone company to power your home's Wi-Fi needs. Zoom Extreme from Armstrong, keeping you connected.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier, filling in for Dan. Facebook message says, political truce today. I prefer to think of my dad, a World War II Marine veteran who served in the South Pacific on the carrier USS Hancock, and thank vets like him that allow us the freedom we have. And that's an important deal. Like, you know, if you take away the security, food, water, you feel, you know, not great about where you live, and then you don't have the ability to think about things politics. So I always think, like, if we're fussing about politics, the privilege of not being threatened in more in more important ways means that we have it really good. And it's that you can kind of take into consideration and feel a lot better, where this stuff like sucks you in and makes you feel terrible. But in reality, if you zoom back out and just take all of what we have, as it is, and we are very blessed to live in this country, surrounded by people who have your back and will defend your freedoms regardless if you disagree with them. And those principles just make you feel good to be an American and have that, the freedoms that we do. So thank you, Carter, over on Facebook. I appreciate it. Here's a text message that says, I don't think going along to get along with these new crazy voting rules is the answer. national voter ID is the answer, in my opinion. Look for Florida and Ohio for their successes in getting the results out in a timely manner. And that's what the beauty of the states is, that you learn from states that are doing something well. They teach things to states that aren't doing as well, and then everybody kind of gets better because of it. It seems like there's certain states that are on their own island that are not taking taking heed and taking the evidence of how to do this correctly, and it's very obvious. All right, we're going to break away from this, and we're going to go talk to a friend and someone who just went through the electoral process. Mr. Michael Rulli, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Joe. How are you this morning?
Doing pretty good. And so this is the Baloney Report, and this is my first Baloney Report with you, so you'll have to coach me through it.
Well, we go every week and we give the price of the bologna this week in the stores. So we have actually something exciting to say about that today. We've been $3.99, I think, for like the last 3 weeks. We actually have a bologna Wonder Bar on sale for $2.79. So a little bit different on the pricing of the bologna report. Sort of exciting, right?
Nice. That's a good increase. That's nice.
Yeah, so we're hoping that the prices are, generating down instead of up.
For sure.
People are really hurting, Joe. So that's a little bit of good news right there.
Absolutely. So you are recently gone through the electoral process. You did your campaigning. How was the overall experience?
Well, campaigning is the rough part of being an elected official. So there's that, it's sort of the aspect that keeps a lot of people from running, because sometimes it gets a little brutal. Sometimes it's fun. There's a lot of things involved. It's a process that never leaves you. It's with you the entire time, 24/7, whether it's, an article online, or whether it's knocking on doors, or, traveling around, or going to events. And it's a different experience. That's the least you could say about that, Joe.
Yeah. And so our neighbors to the east who have a little bit more trouble counting the results of the ballots, what are they doing so differently than we are that we can have a conclusion by election night end, and they're going into days and maybe sometimes weeks later?
Well, I think that's, and I'm not just trying to do an infomercial for Frank LaRose, but the last 4 or 5, Secretary of States have been very, very studious with their work on making sure their relationship with all 88 Board of Elections is really solid. So throughout the course of the year, they're always, visiting those 88 counties and the Board of Elections, seeing if there's problems, making sure that they're able to process quickly. In Youngstown, we saw that, I think it's the 7th or the 8th ward, they were reporting numbers literally like at 7:45. And I think in Ohio by 10:45 or 11 o'clock, all 88 counties had been represented. They had all their numbers and their stats in. And, we do a lot of paper ballot in Ohio. So there was a lot of, cross-referencing, making sure everything was solid, making sure everyone's vote actually counted. I think Ohio has a lot to be proud of, Joe.
That's awesome. So thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing the Baloney Report with me today, and have yourself a good weekend.
Hey, Joe, thank you. You too. And I hope everyone's nice and safe this weekend. Take care.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much, Michael Rulli, with the Baloney Report, state senator for Ohio, 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570. We're streaming over on Facebook Live on the 570 WKBN, as well as my personal profile. So if you want to comment over there, I will read. Got a compliment. You're beautiful, Joe. Wow. That was a good one. Thank you. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. And let me see if we got some text messages to read, and lots of topics for the rest of today. But if you want to get in and talk anything about the election, I am willing to move on from talking about election stuff. If you still got some energy in your pipe and you want to get something out, this is your sounding board. Beautiful thing about having a station like this in our area is that the people's voice is still able to get on the airwaves, and no matter what you have to say, I and all of the veterans out there will protect your right to say it. And so if you have something to share with me today, 330-729-9977. Again, thank you, veterans, for your service. Appreciate it. So this is, and I'm a big economy, development, and all things local guy. And so I really have a strong belief in the community supporting local businesses and getting involved locally to help solve problems. Your energy could be well more invested locally than it would be if you put your energy into the national side. So a statistic I read in an industry that's super struggling right now is the restaurant industry. And this is a national average that 49% of restaurants in the last month, that would be throughout October, did not create enough revenue over expenses to pay their leases and mortgages. And this was a growth from a 32% in September to a 49% in October. And why that is meaningful is that when you are spending your dollars and you have higher energy costs and higher food costs, there are certain industries that are the first to take that on the chin when you don't have as much disposable income. Then, there are going to be some consequences. So, my method, whenever we get into this cycle of the economy where we should be supporting local all the time, but there's other times when the local businesses need us more than most. So if, yesterday I had to, we were grabbing dinner and I had the choice of supporting a local restaurant or a national chain. I'm always going to go on the hierarchy of my support. It's always going to be, I'm going to try to support a local restaurant before I do a national chain, because I think local restaurants, even though national chains still have local ownership, the individual single operator restaurant needs my cash more than one above, which would be the local chain. I think that survivor wise, if one was going to be on the sort of like edge of not being able to participate next month, I think that's where it would be. So the issue of support, and this is sort of like well, anyway, the overall goal is when things get tough and you hear a statistic like 50% couldn't pay their mortgage. I mean, you got to put yourself in the shoes of people who are struggling and not seeing if there's going to be an end to the inflation and being able to pay their workers and whatever. And we do not want to see more contraction on the restaurant field. We've got some really good restaurants. The number one thing people tell me when I travel and our identity comes from our food offerings and how well we do food. And so for restaurants that may be, putting something on the menu that is unique to them, to have those disappear would be a real sin. So that's my encouragement, is after hearing that statistic, let's do our best to rescue some of our neighbors and friends who are trying to make it in that industry. But that was kind of telling. And we can also talk about the election as far as, the states that are having a little bit more struggle of counting their ballots. The last text messenger mentioned that these election rules that are being created in some of these, and they mentioned Democrat strongholds, were effectively laws that created political advantage or strategy. And that's one thing I have hatred for, is when the laws are able to be corrupted via political strategy. And both sides do it. So, you hear gerrymandering on a regular basis, where whoever's in the power of control of the state can draw lines to give statistical advantage to their party. And then when the other one gets in there, they do the exact same thing. So it's a corrupt nature of a process that, we see this theme repeat itself in politics. You can't, honestly, you can't, fault them for creating advantage within the lines of the law, right? It's not illegal to gerrymander, but then voters complain about it my entire life, but don't ever do anything about it because it's just so corrupt, it's accepted, and we never correct it. So what should, governance lines, how should they be developed, since there's always the accusation that they're unfair or that somebody, is getting shafted because of how they're drawn. So that's a topic that we can hit. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Alec. Alec, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hey, Joe, always nice to hear you on. A lot of these elections would be fixed if we went to maybe voting on a blockchain.
Okay.
We could have almost instantaneous results. You could do it statewide, nationwide. It'd be safer. Imagine, if voting ran like Bitcoin on a blockchain network, where it's permissionless, immutable, and distributed. And then everybody, you could do your patriotic duty. You can have your own voting node in your house. You can run the network and secure the network from your own house. From a voting standpoint, you could do this all over the country. Again, it would be
All right, I think I lost you, Alec, but I had the gist of what you were saying. And in addition to that, and I know there's a lot of people who have a little mistrust from mistrust of understanding from how Bitcoin and blockchain works. But think about it this way: there's a registrar, right, or a registrar that basically has every transaction that is infinitely auditable. Where you can, if right now I wanted to go look up to see how my vote was tabulated in an election, we're all surrounded by technology, right? You saw the computer systems, the voting thing, the counters and whatever. Go ahead and look up your vote on how it was cast to make sure that it was correct the day after. Is it possible? Well, probably in most states it's not. Well, with blockchain, when you register, when you're permissed to cast your vote into a system, you can go back and that transaction lives forever. And so I'm always been very disappointed with how primitive our systems to cast important things. Now, the second part of this is that when you do things efficient and fast, right? Sometimes it will sometimes having the blockade of inefficiency stops from widespread fraud from happening very quickly. If you have a system that's too inefficient, you can fraud too quickly. And so sometimes if you're stacking stacks of paper, that if you wanted to have fraud, you would have to move 5 tons worth of paper. Just the scale of it makes it so that it's harder to cheat, right? And so that's where the second part of that is you have an age group of people who would really disagree because of misunderstanding or inability to comprehend that that's a safe way of doing things. And you can lay out the mathematics of why it's safer to that person, but if they don't feel a way about it, then they're never going to be able to support it. They're always going to take shots at it. It's not going to be a perfect system, but in proportional relative to how we're doing it now, it will definitely be something that I would trust a little bit more because, again, that infinite auditable thing. Everybody in the world can check in where their vote was, and it would be so easy because it'd be 100% transparent. So 330-729-9977. I appreciate your call on that because every election system, every election cycle, blockchain gets brought up because it is the perfect container to hold things that we value that are that are 100% accountable. It's almost impossible in a push system to have fraud, right? And so in the future, I 100% think that voting will be in the container of some kind of blockchain. But how do you bring the previous era into an understanding of why that is any safer? It's a logical question. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. I'm also over on Facebook Live on my personal page, Youngstown Studios page, and also the 570 WKBN page. So you can ask your questions or comment on the program today as you see fit. And getting back to the original gerrymandering or, designing these, different territories. But I mean, you have to notice if you're in politics, pay attention to them for any period of time. If you end up saying the same thing every election cycle, then there really isn't a concerted effort to solve problems. It's almost like a perpetual cycle of keeping you hungry to solve a problem that's unsolvable, but this time is different. And it's almost like a psychological disorder that you think being involved in politics is somehow a practical exercise, like a practical problem-solving pursuit. And really it's not, because an observer who just wants to be as critical of you as as human beings are allowed to be, are going to say, yeah, you know what, the 75th time that you mentioned that you're going to do something that you don't do it, the second time I have less trust, and by the 44th time, I don't even think you're trying. And that's the amount of cynicism I have towards the federal government. And I'm telling you, there's nothing sacred about the federal government. They're not allowed to say we're sacred and you can't, be cynical, and you can't levy charges, and you can't assume that they're doing wrong, right? It's up to us. It's incumbent to mistrust the government. I mean, what would happen if you had a bunch of people that controlled all of the laws, that controlled all of the finances, to not be questioned for what it is that they're doing? I mean, it is important. It's got to be a practical exercise where, it's just, let's just say you think everything's a conspiracy. Well, honestly, that's just as bad as considering nothing is a conspiracy. Anything versus everything, and so it's up to us to have be fair, reasonable, but really cynical about what's going on and question everything. Your curiosity has to be off the charts. Less statements, more questions. All right, so 330-729-9977. Marie, I see your call out there. I'm not going to pick you up until we get after this break, so I hope you will hold on the line. Text messages and comments from Facebook, I will catch up on those after the next break as well. And so let's see. And again, we could talk a little bit about the election, but I'm going to move on topics after you've gotten it all out of your system because, like I said, I'm a little bit whiplashed out from all the election stuff. There are other more important things. We're going to talk a little bit about the Youngstown city government and changes that you would like to see, and how that affects some of the bordering cities and the money that they receive through COVID and how that's being spent. All of that's on the plate for today. So if you have any comments on any of those topics, feel free to give me a call, 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-157. And again, I will catch up on all of those when I get back. Marie, stay put. I will take your call as soon as we get back from this break. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
How about where we are with technology now? I want to tell you something about Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet. Go to their website, drivecolumbiana.com, click on a car or an automobile that you'd like to purchase, and then say chat. And you can start chatting with someone at the dealership about that automobile. And you can do it all from the comfort of your own home. Chat away and maybe get the car or truck that you want with no muss, no fuss. DriveColumbiana.com. DriveColumbiana.com. Tell them Dan Rivers sent you.
Promote clean air by choosing a smarter way to commute. Save money, improve your health, and enhance our air quality. Find out more information at MahoningValleyAir.com and GoHio.com. That's MahoningValleyAir.com and GoHio.com to find out more about how you can help.
Youngstown Computer. Our priority is your emergency. If your system is down, call us for our emergency response. YoungstownComputer.com, the Valley's technology company. Call us 330-259-7278. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods in Canfield since 1960. Truly a family business. Hi, Dan Rivers for Baird Brothers. Baird Brothers endeavors to keep prices low. So that's why you need to check out the bargain tree when you go to Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. BairdBrothers.com.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing. I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less. But the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
In celebration of our 73rd anniversary, Merit Floor & Home will be holding a drawing to give away $7,300 worth of prizes to current customers and all those making a qualifying purchase during the month of November. And to make it easy, all flooring will be reduced up to 40%, along with 0% financing. Daily drawing will be held December 1st through 12th. You could be a winner. Visit a Merit Floor & Home showroom for details on Route 168 in Villant, PA, or Route 45 in North Jackson, Ohio. PA number 2511.
You want to be a showstopper like The Miz? You want to be awesome? Then you'll want to have a game plan.
Whether you're a champion or a bettor, you've got to be responsible. The DraftKings Sportsbook offers all the tools you need. You can set a realistic budget and bet within your means. You can set time, deposit, and wager limits so you can have a personal game plan for having fun while being responsible. I practice safe bets, and so should you. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn about all these tools and more.
Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/responsible gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is a firm that practices family law exclusively. We focus on only one area of the law to maximize our strength and effectiveness as advocates for clients that have everything on the line: their homes, retirement, savings, and most importantly, their children. We're the partner our clients count on. If we can be of help to you, give us a call.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Cleveland area attorneys. 5005 Rockside Road, Suite 350, Independence, Ohio, 44131.
What if there was an app where you could listen to this radio station plus hundreds more from across the country? What if that app had every song from every artist that you love, along with the biggest podcasts in the world?
Impossible.
Well, we couldn't find an app with it all. So we made it. And then we made it completely free. The free iHeartRadio app is the future of audio, and it's available now in your app store. Listen to what you want, when you want, wherever you want to. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all the music, radio, and podcasts you love.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today, 100% chance of rain, high of 58 degrees. It'll drop down to 38 degrees later on. Saturday, high of 44, also some chance of rain, low of 29. And then Sunday, 36 is a high, 28 the low. You got snow shower, 60% chance over there. So it is 58 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Let's go right over to Marie. Marie's been hanging on through that break. So Marie, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
I'm a little nervous waiting here.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
I'm older. I just want to say this. When I was growing up, there were very few restaurants. There were almost no restaurants when I was growing up. And then I realized, maybe in the 60s or so, our country became a service industry. Like they called the services an industry. Well, a restaurant is really not an industry because you don't really make anything to help the country to make products to sell and things like that. But the service industry, and I don't say anything against the people that are working in the restaurants because it's a big thing now. But, just you don't help anybody else out by just going out to eat. People could feed themselves and then save their money for doing the things they needed to do. So that's what I was thinking.
So now if the expense is, though, if you stop supporting the restaurants and then those people who are in the service industry are now unemployed, that's less money that stays in their community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And so that's what it's become. It's become one of the things that you depend on. The restaurants depend on that money. They do. But the fact is that they don't produce anything to sell out for helping the people to produce things like they do. I mean, you can say everything is made in China, but I don't know what they do about their service industry, I don't know.
Okay. All right, Marie, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you being out there and listening. And that's it's a fair point that when you put your eggs in the service basket, then, we're manufacturing, you might be able to sell to different territories. You're dependent on the people needing your service or you have to move on. So do you think maybe we're too over invested where maybe the previous generations cooked dinner at home and took care of things where there weren't as many restaurants, and now there's just maybe too many, and the cycle might swing in the other direction, and we might get a more manufacturer. I don't know. I don't know what happens, but it's a good thought experiment to see whether or not we ever have the ability to become a manufacturer, and if there's a demand for it. Where I see it the other direction, where I think you have less and less capable families and less capable people where there's a dependency for other people to do things for you, from maintaining your house to fixing your car to even doing like landscaping and yard work. Is the trajectory we're doing more and more of that independently, or are we farming more and more out to other people and professionals and creating that service industry that we are 100% dependent on? So, Marie, thank you for that call. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
You won't want to miss the red tag sale at the Stadium GM Pre-Owned Superstore. Everything on our huge lot is marked down. Cars starting from $5,000, trucks from $6,000. And right now, you'll also find a great selection of 2019 Chevy Equinoxes from just $259 a month with zero down. And if you're looking for luxury, we have the area's best selection of pre-owned Cadillacs. Log on to StadiumGM.com to see it all, fill out a credit app, and then come to the store where you can get a Chevy Equinox for just $259 a month. The Stadium GM Pre-Owned Superstore in Salem. See dealer for details.
When you want the best in residential and commercial roofing, reach for the sky with Sky Roofing, celebrating 20 years in business. Sky Roofing has been providing Ohio and surrounding states with high-quality expertise and customer service. Commercial to residential, installation to restoration, shingle roofs to downspouts and siding. We bring our experience and skill to jobs of all sizes. Sky Roofing, 330-702-8000.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, #1 for podcasting. 570 WKBN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. President Biden is in Egypt. He's met there with President El-Sisi ahead of his comments later at the United Nations Climate Summit. After Egypt, his next stop will be Asia. That's where he'll try to counter China's influence. ABC's Britt Clennett has more from Cambodia.
President Biden will touch down here in Phnom Penh this weekend with a mission to woo Southeast Asian nations to counter growing Chinese influence in the region, all ahead of his meeting with China's President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Indonesia. Biden will be the first U.S. president to attend Asia-Pacific's ASEAN summit in person since Donald Trump left the event early in 2017. Biden also attended virtually last year.
It's Veterans Day in the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris will lay a wreath at Arlington National Cemetery. The high-profile cryptocurrency exchange, FTX, says it's begun bankruptcy proceedings. That's the end of a week that's seen it look for investors amid liquidity issues. The CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, has resigned. Crypto journalist Laura Shin tells ABC News.
Many people believe that this will definitely set back the crypto industry for years with the implosion of FTX.
The vote counting continues in Nevada and Arizona to determine the winners of Senate races and the race for governor of Arizona, where Republican candidate Carrie Lake is accused of vote counters in Maricopa County of slow rolling the count. County Commissioner Bill Gates, a Republican, said that's offensive.
We will be working Friday. We will be working Saturday, and we will be working Sunday to move through these ballots so that we can get through the 400,000 to 410,000 that we're still working on.
Russia's retreated from the Ukrainian city of Kherson. ABC's James Longman's there.
This is a village that was right on the front line for months. The devastation is almost absolute. There is shrapnel everywhere. The road is just littered with craters.
You're listening to ABC News.
A grand jury moving on charges for a Southwest Ohio man accused of a brutal quadruple homicide.
The Montgomery County prosecutor says he wants the death penalty for Stephen Marlowe. The 39-year-old is now under indictment on more than 24 counts, including 12 counts of aggravated murder, accused of killing 82-year-old Clyde Knox, 78-year-old Eva Knox, 42-year-old Sarah Anderson, and 15-year-old Kayla Anderson on August 5th. He was arrested the next day in Kansas. Investigators say they found evidence of Marlowe's belief that his neighbors were sleeper cell terrorists. Prosecutor Matt Heck says Marlowe bought his gun illegally from a private seller in Kentucky and that his past actions indicate he's competent and sane. I'm Jack Crumley.
Cuyahoga County is reporting its first pediatric flu death of the season. The Cuyahoga County Board of Health says a 13-year-old died. This comes as the county moves up their flu activity level to moderate low. There have been 15 flu-related hospitalizations so far this flu season. A sheriff's deputy is back on the job after being fired in 2020. 40-year-old Jesse Franklin kicked an inmate in the head in the Hamilton County Justice Center. Franklin was terminated for excessive force, but found not guilty of excessive force. Because of that, an arbitrator found Franklin should be reinstated. On this Veterans Day, we're getting an update on the USS Cleveland being constructed in Wisconsin. It's set to be christened in the spring and already has a crew. USS Cleveland Legacy Foundation Director, Lieutenant Matt Previtz, says part of their mission is to support the crew now and throughout active duty of the warship. This approach is a first for the Navy.
But the heavy lift is supporting the crew while they're forward deployed.
it can be very, very difficult to be away from family and friends and be in the middle of God knows where doing, what the Navy's asking you to do.
Unlike the 3 previous USS Clevelands in our history, this one will go home to Cleveland's North Coast when it's retired. The warship will be christened in the spring. I'm Rob Bailey.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN. From the A to Z Dependable Services Traffic Center. Septic, plumbing, heating, cooling, and drain cleaning. 570 traffic.
Roads are wet, but everything moving pretty well at this point on 80, 680, 11, 711, and the Turnpike. Just be careful. There's still construction in Warren. 305 is closed off in between Route 5 and Mahoning Avenue. I'm Pat Butler in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Verdict with Ted Cruz.
This is Ben Ferguson. And this is Ted Cruz. Together we do our podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, 3 times a week. Want to know what's going on behind closed doors in the Senate, the White House, the courts?
If you do, download Verdict with Ted Cruz on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Have the rain gear handy today. Rain will be likely. It will be moderate to heavy at times, staying mild today with temperatures returning to the upper 50s this afternoon. Rain will wind down into tonight. It'll turn colder with temperatures dropping to the upper 30s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier, filling in for Dan today. So happy Veterans Day to all of the veterans out there. Appreciate your service. And today I'm heading out camping. I'm watching that weather forecast because I'm going to be out in the motorhome exploring a state park this weekend. And the rain changes a couple of the things that I was planning on doing. But I grew up as a kid. I was in Boy Scouts, and we used to have these encampments where we'd go out in this autumn, rainy, cold thing, and we'd camp out. So I like being out in the little bit damp and cold. I don't like being wet for like days on end, so it's awful that way. So thankfully I have a motorhome to jump into and change clothes out, but it's going to be a wet one this weekend. So maybe a good weekend to stay in and watch some sports or whatever. And so the phone number 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570. Let's see. The whole daylight savings time, like I started the program off with that. It's a little bit of an annoyance to me because what it does to my sleep schedule. But I kind of want to know from you, like if we have something that our culture supports and that we do, and we understand why we do it, then that's one thing. But if you ask 10 people why we even do daylight savings times, you're going to get a whole bunch of different responses. And so I just Googled during the break, like, why do we do it? And it is the idea behind the clock shift is to maximize the sunlight in the northern hemisphere as days start to lengthen in the spring and then wane in the fall. The logic is that by springing forward and falling back, people add an hour of sunlight to the end of the workday. So is that a practical exercise? So I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and the sun comes up, or when we'll say 6 o'clock in the morning, and I go to work. So far I'm working and it's sunny outside, or at least it's light outside. And I get home at 5:30 and it's beginning to get dark. So there's lengthening of the dark so that I have some sun to enjoy when I get my day done. Does not really apply to me in my profession, but maybe there are professions out there that without the time change that they'd be at a disadvantage. So if you're working outside and you need extra light in order to get something done, like your, roofing or something that needs to be have, light in order to do it. Maybe that's it. So if you can have a justification, I'm going to vote for disbanding daylight savings time. Pick something, stick with it. Don't need it. Causes too much distress, makes everybody grumpy, and really has a cost and consequence with our health, as well as our, sleep schedule. But a lot of people die and it disrupts everything. So my vote is to disband it. No more daylight savings time. But if you like it and you have a justification, I'm open for it. So it seems to be, it's one of those things, but that maybe when agriculture was a bigger part of what we did, maybe there was some reason why, or maybe when electricity was hard to get, or light bulbs or candles were in short supply, you move the time so you wouldn't burn through as many of your resources. All that I get, but we're in plentiful with everything. And the cost savings, and I looked this up, the cost savings of daylight savings time is about $5 in energy per year. So for $5, we're going to make you cranky for a week, starve you with some extra sleep, and make some of you die. I don't think that's a good trade-off. So if you're with me and you want to disband daylight savings time, give me a vote. Either text me 333-1570 and tell me you're on Team Joe for disbanding daylight savings time. Or if you enjoy it and there's a good reason for it, also share that with me. But I want to hear from you and see and what would it take? Like, is there a commission that handles daylight savings time and whether or not it has a practical purpose? Or do we have these things in government in our society that since nobody can figure out who implemented it, then nobody can decide to kill it or not? So we might get stuck with it just because I don't think that that anybody knows how to hit the kill switch on that one. 330-729-9977. Let's see. Another thing is we're talking about these issues that are kind of perpetual: the gerrymandering, the election deal, where if the voting regulations are they are getting a little absurd. Now, during COVID, a lot of us were able to see past the fact that that some of extra accommodations needed to be delivered to certain people, especially if you're in a position where if you got COVID, then you were high probability of ill health and death, and we had to make special accommodations for you. But once COVID is not a thing, you would expect most of that to have retracted and not necessary, and you go out to the polls and you do your voting. I don't necessarily think in my areas I've ever experienced what would be considered a hard voting, where it was I showed up and I waited in a line that was like 15 minutes and I voted. I was able to have enough time to be able to do it. But are there areas, especially in big densely populated areas, where it's an investment to even be able to vote, where either the lines are too long because you're competing with a bunch of other people versus, machines that are slow, or even the process is slow. Like this has been the worst efficient run voting. Like it used to be, I'd show up at my polling location here in Boardman, and you would see tables that had the different districts. You walk up to the table, they would find you on the list, they would they'd hand you your ballot, and you walk up to the voting machine. Well, they removed all of the different self-categorizing districts, and you walked up to one person, and that one person figured out what district you are on, and then they shopped your ballot from one table. So less poll workers, but it was way more efficient. There were machines that were actually idle. Nobody was voting on them because that person was waiting for another voter to get out of the book, because there's one person fielding everybody who was going to vote. And that was terribly inefficient. But in my location, it cost me probably 5 extra minutes. And so it wasn't even enough. It wasn't worth enough to note out. But maybe you live in an area where there is hard voting and there was a 4-hour wait to get there through machines that weren't working. And it felt like after that, it was harder than it needed to be. And honestly, if in those areas, if those districts make special accommodations because poll workers can't actually get it right and get the votes tallied in a reason, or get votes collected in a reasonable amount of time, then either we make it super easy, or we go the other direction, where if we're going to run an election industry, I would say putting the money into this portion, counting machines that actually work and enough poll workers to satisfy it, and being able to move poll workers around so that ballots could be counted. It seems like that is the least amount of resources that are invested in, and the campaigning and everything on the other side is where all the money is actually going. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Tracy. Tracy, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hi, Joe. Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to make a comment about the term limit results in Youngstown.
Okay.
And one thing that I noticed that the council who is now fighting the results because of language on the balloting is that there are 10,477 people who live in Youngstown who got up and got out and voted yes on this amendment. But they are being totally suppressed in terms of Amber and John White getting all of the credit, all of the blame, and it's turning into something personal between council and the Whites. However, they are totally disregarding the fact that we got out. We have double the voters that came out and voted yes for this amendment who live in Youngstown, and they're ignoring us totally. So I feel like by the ignorance of them not acknowledging that the people of Youngstown actually came out with the intent of making a change, I think that's just terrible for the people in Youngstown, and that's going to cause a bit of disenfranchisement with future voting.
Okay, so bring me up to speed. So I saw that it was on the ballot that the term limits were voted in. What happened after that makes you feel like there was some angst about from the administration?
The council is trying to protest the results of the election because the language on the ballot did not say that the time that the council has already served counts toward the term limit on the ballot. So if somebody's in council and they've already served 2 terms or they're on their 2nd term, they would be done by the end of next year because that would be the end of the current term for the council. So I think that the voter intent was that those people with a yes vote passing on election day would not be able to run after the end of 2023 because they would have served 2 or more terms by that point.
Okay, now and you're saying it was more of a language disparity. There's an argument about that the language.
Yes.
Now, with the origin of this, were there some people on council that had been elected to too many terms, and there was somebody specifically that this was targeted at?
No, absolutely not. And if you look at the results, this has been over 7 wards. The ratio was a 5-to-1 as yes. So it wasn't one particular council person who ruined it for the rest or 2 particular council people. If you look across the board, ward by ward, there is a 5-to-1 ratio of those who voted yes for the term limits and those who voted no for the term limits in all 7 wards.
All right. Tracy, is there anything else you want to add? I appreciate you sharing that information with us.
No, I just feel like the emphasis is like a mudslinging fight with council and the whites, and the rest of us who did vote yes, the 10,477 voters in Youngstown are being forgotten in this bit of mudslinging on the media. So I just want those people who came out and voted to be appreciated and acknowledged in this fight.
All right, Tracy, thank you so much. Appreciate you checking in, and that's important for voting, for the voters. I honestly think that any time that and in fact, I'd love to see on the local level where term limits will get voted for every time, because there's not a single voter that doesn't bring up the amount of, professions where people spend 40 and 50 years in a federal position and on the state. These guys get really comfortable, and I think their origins of selecting and creating these governments, state and federal, the new blood, the bringing the new expertise and bringing the new angles of specializations into government is what was envisioned by the founders. And so that boils right down to the local level. If you get these people that just stay there for huge amounts of time, I don't think lifetime professions was ever pictured by the people who founded our state of government. But like our last caller was saying, is that when a voter or an area votes down a school levy, right, the politicians in the system has to recognize that was a voice that said something and pay a little bit of respect to the voter. And so, you have these school districts that put these things back on. If they fail, they try to sneak things in at different times in the voting cycles. But as you can see very clear that if a term limit was voted for the public, then it has to be recognized that that's what the voters want. If the language was not clear. I can understand where it's equal say to push back on it, not necessarily from that standpoint, but let's get the language right so that the voices could be put in permanently in that system. So 330-729-9977. So we talked about gerrymandering. We talked about those term limits, and I also would like us to take seriously term limits on the federal and state side as well. There are far too many people that have amassed power, which if you have an elected official that's been there a long time and they're on a lot of committees and they've accumulated a lot of say, you hate to give that up, right? You have to believe in the new blood theory more than the the persuasion or the power side of things, because if you, especially in certain areas, if you've got a 40-year congressman, well, they've got the system down pretty good, right? You send a newbie in there and they're going to be at a disadvantage for a little while. And so do you choose the being at a disadvantage thing? Remember, I'm a libertarian. So this last election was really good for a person like me because you get gridlock. You get a little bit more. Nobody can have their complete way. You got to concede. You got to make some more concessions. You have to have more dialogue, and that all takes time. Things slow down in the cycles, and we can be more analytical with what we do. And so I love the fact that less gets done instead of more. I don't think the apparatus of government actually solves any problems. So them doing more doesn't necessarily solve more things. I think more things get jumbled up and more problems get created so that then they can have more things to solve. And I don't like that self-perpetuating system. So I'm one that's going to back off the power. I'm going to back off the control. I'm going to back off the amount of influence that government has in our everyday lives. And this is part of a natural consequence of that happening. Nobody voted for that backing off, but you can see a natural consequence of gridlock delivers that just the same. Jerry, I see you out there. I will take your call as soon as we get back from this break. I'll also get caught up on some of the text messaging. 330-729-9977 is the phone number. You can also text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Dan Rivers, we're talking with Mike at R&S Paint. Mike, what kind of products do you supply at your store at R&S Paint?
We've always carried a premium line, and we learned a long time ago, if you sell really good products, you're going to have happy customers. We carry premium Wooster, whether it's the rollers, the brushes. We have great extension poles or Sherlock. If you've ever used one, it's just a really nice tool for doing walls and ceilings. We're carrying Old Master stains. Once again, another premium product. We carry some of their gel stains that you can do if you got to do your door. Once again, Benjamin Moore paint, inside and out. We can answer all your questions on a different products. We even have some of their industrial products in case maybe you got a trailer you want to paint. So all kind of different brand names, and we try to carry premium lines inside those brand names.
Don't forget, folks, the products that you use make such a difference in the job that you get. R&S Paint, Colony Square Plaza on Market Street near Akron Children's Hospital, daily till 5, Saturdays till 3, 755-8136.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Quiet, convenient, affordable. Westchester Square Apartments offer rental properties to fit every need and budget. Perfectly situated in Austintown, right next to Route 11. With luxury living close by at Westchester Executive Apartments. Even Westchester Commons, the perfect independent senior living facility. Be a good neighbor in a community of good neighbors. Westchester Square, Westchester Executive Apartments, and Westchester Commons. Find out more now at waldenmanagement.com.
You know what sounds good sometimes? Just a good sandwich. And I'm going to recommend Ben's Restaurant. Ben's Restaurant, one of our longtime sponsors, offering battered dip scrod fish sandwich, a mushroom steak sandwich, a grilled Cajun chicken breast sandwich, and a steak sandwich. Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. They've got the grilled Reuben, they've got the grilled chicken breast sandwich, a shrimp basket. Hey, it's really reasonably priced. And just think about sandwiches when you go to Ben's Restaurant. Ben's Restaurant, 224, just east of Berlin Reservoir.
In celebration of our 73rd anniversary, Merritt Floor & Home will be holding a drawing to give away $7,300 worth of prizes to current customers and all those making a qualifying purchase during the month of November. And to make it easy, all flooring will be reduced up to 40%, along with 0% financing. Daily drawing will be held December 1st through 12th. You could be a winner. Visit a Merritt Floor & Home showroom for details on Route 168 in Villant, PA, or Route 45 in North Jackson, Ohio. PA number 2511.
Are you ready to find a new career that is flexible and offers advancement opportunities from within? If so, then look no further than Trivium Packaging in Youngstown. Trivium is now hiring machinists, operators, and technicians. Starting pay, $21 per hour. Competitive benefits that begin on day one. And a $4,000 signing bonus. If you are ready to make that switch, then we want to talk to you. Be a part of the family at Trivium Packaging. Apply at careers.triviumpackaging.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. We got today lots of rain, 100% chance, high of 58 degrees, low of 38 degrees. Saturday, we got a high of 44, still a chance of rain, low of 29. And then Sunday, we got snow showers, 60% chance, high of 36, low of 28 degrees. And it is 59 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Phone calls are loaded up, so let me go right to them, 330-729-9977. Jerry, you're up on the Dan Rivers program. What can I do for you?
Hey, I want to say Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, first of all. I'm very thankful for the lady that just called about this lawsuit against the council members or whatever for term limits. I'm not sure who filed the lawsuit. Was it a member of the council?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do not know.
Yeah, because if the voters have spoken, she said 10,000, whatever the exact pretext of the numbers were. Voters have spoken, and if my thought is if it's a member of the council that filed the lawsuit, they should be impeached immediately. That's my thought.
The article says Board of Elections member Dave Beatrice thinks that this could end up in court. So I doubt that anything's been filed, but they're just it sounds like they're predicting that it will.
Yeah, well, have the vote again, and I'll guarantee you'll get 20,000 people to say enact term limits. We got too many politicians, too many elected officials sitting in office too long. You get 2-3 terms, whatever what the community decides, then you're out. And no grandfather, none of this stuff. You've been in there long enough. It's time for you to go. Get somebody else a chance. Last thing we need is another 80-year-old president, anyhow, or a 45-year politician that doesn't know what's going on. So I'm all for the term limits, and anybody that, if that person that filed the lawsuit or anything like that is associated with this, they should be impeached immediately. That's just my thoughts, and I appreciate your radio show. Thank you very much.
All right, Jerry, thank you so much. Appreciate you being out there, and that is a very popular opinion that term limits are being not anymore just like it would be a good idea. It is starting to take a little bit of form where let's push on this issue and force the hand. There's not going to be a legislature that's going to say, hey, you know what's a good idea? Let's limit my access to all of this political cash and this insider trading. And, you know, it's a very lucrative position to be a politician, and it shouldn't be. And the whole industry needs to be shaken up. And if it starts with limiting people's exposure, taking power out, I mean, that is really the way to go. So, Jared, thank you for that phone call. I appreciate it. And as I mentioned, the phone lines are lit up here, and I do have a bunch of text messages, but we are about to head out to another break. So after the top of the hour, Rich and Tony, I will come to your calls exactly first, and then following that, I'll get caught up on the text messages. But please hang on the line. I will absolutely get to you as soon as we get back from this set of breaks. So you're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
It's interesting how the brain works, right? We don't hear everything, but when we hear something that works for us, our ears perk up. Now, that may be an offer that you're hearing about an automobile. So I'm going to ask you to do this. If you hear an offer, take that same offer to Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet and see if they can beat or maybe even exceed the offer that you currently have. Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet. Or go to drivecolumbiana.com and tell them Dan Rivers sent you.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. Divorce can be complicated, especially if children are involved. If you're a father and want to protect your role in your children's lives, remember Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men with matters like these for 30 years, and we'd love to help you.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Cleveland area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 5005 Rockside Road, Suite 350, Independence, Ohio, 44131. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bills. That's bills. Enter it now. Stories you're thinking about.
Improved border security.
There's more people than ever coming.
It's a humanitarian crisis. Crime.
Because I am a mom too.
Check in for this story and more.
It's important to know the facts.
The news stories are on 570 WKBN.
Speaking at the UN Climate Summit in Egypt, President Biden said,
"We see our mission to avert climate catastrophe and seize a new clean energy economy, not only as an imperative for our present and future, but through the eyes of history."
President began his remarks by acknowledging Veterans Day. Vice President Kamala Harris will lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknowns today at Arlington National Cemetery. The wait continues to learn which party will control the Senate, as vote counting has not yet determined the winner of the Senate races in Nevada and in Arizona, along with the Arizona governor's race. Cryptocurrency exchange FTX says it's seeking bankruptcy protection because it's short billions of dollars. The company's CEO has also resigned. Russia says its military forces have completely retreated from the city of Kherson in Ukraine. It was one of Russia's big territorial gains earlier in the war. Brian Clark, ABC News.
We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Have the rain gear handy today. Rain will be likely. It will be moderate to heavy at times, staying mild today with temperatures returning to the upper 50s this afternoon. Rain will wind down into tonight. It'll turn colder with temperatures dropping to the upper 30s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I sell custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters that are easy to install at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds are custom-made for your windows, and I guarantee they'll fit. Don't hire a pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
How about this? Celebrating over 40 years in business, Boardman Coin and Jewelry. Market Street, Boardman, Great East Plaza, Niles. Buying it all. Gold, silver, diamonds, coins, jewelry, and watches. Come in. Get your best price before you sell. Boardman Coin and Jewelry Buyers. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods in Canfield since 1960. Truly a family business. Hi, Dan Rivers for Baird Brothers. Baird Brothers endeavors to keep prices low. So that's why you need to check out the bargain tree when you go to Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. BairdBrothers.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier, filling in for Dan today. 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. And as promised, let's go right through the phone calls. Rich waited for us. So, Rich, you're first up here on the Dan Rivers program. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I agree with him. The term limits, because you stop and think about it. All they do is talk about prejudice this or prejudice that. Well, technically, they're prejudiced to let the president 2 terms and everybody else get it on for free. That's my first comment.
Okay.
And my second, we got the government telling us about putting solar panels on. It's been out here for 30 years, and a culture's been doing it forever because they don't have electricity. But here's the thing. The president has he doesn't have any of the solar panels on any of his 4 houses. So, and I did just tell everybody to go and check. I use an average of 700 kilowatts a month, which is about $8,000 for the year. It will cost me $30,000 to put that on my home. So it's not cheaper. So it's the president, they're lying to us. It's not cheaper. People ought to do that and understand. Talk about diesel at $6 a gallon for the farmer. $6 a gallon for the farmer. Stop talking about gas and let the president talk then about it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate it. Solar is the only thing I'm going to comment on what you said, because I have the most experience there. And, we did a bunch of testing, some experimentation on what solar panels can do in the state of Ohio. And your math isn't that far off. The $30,000 is probably what you would, you'd expense putting up enough solar panels to do your whole home. Because we only get like maybe 4 or 5 hours of usable sunlight that can be converted down into a battery and then used off of it. Now, the landscape at the pricing of about, 5 years ago was about 20 years in order to start paying off the system by the energies saved. And so there was a really long time horizon where you upfront the cost, and then overall the life of it, you end up making your returns back, but it takes a long time to claw those things back. Now at a higher energy prices, that happens far quicker, where instead of it being a 20-year clawback, it's more like a 7 or 8 year clawback. But still, Ohio isn't really a great candidate. You have to really believe in the solar technology when we have such few, usable hours a day to actually do solar. So it's one of those things. It's worth the government allowing some experimentation, because I feel like early on in the 80s and 90s that we had a pretty efficient, for the time, solar cell. And it kind of got hijacked by the Chinese, and the innovation dollars really, got sucked out of it, and we stopped innovating. So you're looking at these solar panels that could be have a really high, a much higher efficiency coefficient, and it just doesn't, because we took a break from it for so many years. So I think the technology needs to innovate upwards, and I'm still okay with private people dabbling in it and seeing what comes of solar. Now, should it be something where we put all of our chips in that basket? Absolutely not. I don't want it excluded, and I don't want it to be prioritized. I just want the marketplace to be able to sort it out in a real and truthful way. And the less political we make it, the better chances it gets to having a fair shot and seeing where it fits in as a tool in our tool belt. So 330-729-9977. Let's next go to Tony. Tony, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Good. I want to talk about the daylight savings time.
Yeah, for sure.
And first thing I want to explain, I think most people understand this, but maybe some people don't. You can move your clocks any way you want, and you're not going to gain 1 second of daylight. All right. It's just a trick you play on yourself.
Right.
Okay. To think you're getting more daylight. All right. I think we have 2 options. We don't have 3. We could either stay how we are, with daylight savings time in the summer and go through all these time changes twice a year that upsets everybody, or we stay on standard time. We cannot go on daylight savings time year round because in the wintertime, we have school children walking to school. All right. You don't want kids walking to school in the dark.
Right.
Because that's too risky. I know when I'm driving and I see kids walking maybe on the side of the road or on the sidewalk, I always am, watching them because I know how kids would just jump out in front of you in a second, okay, because they're goofing around with their friends or whatever. All right. If it was dark out, I might not see them.
Well,
so if you go to daylight savings times all year, you're going to have a lot of children getting hit by cars because drivers did not see them.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
That's
Appreciate it. And even driving home from work last night, it was around 5:45 and it was dark. And I saw people, still doing leaf blowers and on their tractors. And it was dangerous because they were working close to the street. And there's no way that I could see well enough to, if they would step out in traffic, I couldn't see well enough to avoid them. So he's absolutely right that if we're going to stick to anything, we're going to use what's now, which is giving us more daylight later on the winter hours and then stay on that. So thank you for that call. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. Let's go next to Tomcat. You're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
I was listening about the time changes.
Yeah.
I kind of like the time changes. I was going to say that daylight savings time, I wish it was all year round, but the gentleman before me talked about the hazards with the children, and I will have to change what I was thinking to say. Well, I like the changing of the times because I do like it at 9 or 9:30 in the summertime, having it still a little bit daylight.
Okay. And do you think there's any
That's all I got.
besides the safety issue, any other practical reasons you think it should be here still?
Well, without the saving or the caution for the children and all that, I wish it was always daylight savings time. I like that.
Okay.
That in the summertime and in the wintertime, I don't care.
Okay. All right. Thank you for checking in. Appreciate your vote in that direction. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Bob next. Bob, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Good. How are you this morning?
Good.
I was calling about the windmills and solar power.
Yeah.
One of my concerns with windmills, and I live in an area where we've got a couple of them out in my area that residents have put them in. And what's interesting is that they don't last as long as people think they do.
Right.
And I wonder if the payback is there, because I know when they first put them in, the government was subsidizing it like 50% or something like that. But when it was all said and done, did they last long enough to get the government payback or even to get the taxpayers payback on that is another way to look at it. So longevity-wise, obviously solar-wise, it seems like that would be a little bit better situation from less repair. But some of these big windmills, because I was even watching Fox 8 News this morning, and they were talking about the one at the Cleveland Stadium and why it's never moving. And somebody said on the Fox 8 News that the one there is actually broken and they're waiting on parts for it. You know if that's true?
Yeah, and I would. That's kind of reasonable. That's what I would expect. And any time that we gauge the efficiencies of these things, they don't. You take a fossil fuel burning versus a renewable energy, and it's not ever going to be close. So you have to always know that when you're in these innovation cycles, that it's never going to be as good as a fossil fuel. And I don't think it should ever replace that. But if you live next to a lake, and you want to find some, technology that harnesses the wind, I mean, the more iterations of trying to take advantage of, energies already flowing around the earth, the better. But we're blessed to have such a supply of, of those natural resources in combustion and fossil fuels.
Absolutely. And like people always say too, if the technology is good, people are going to take it on, just like electric cars. If it makes sense for you, go for it. But for me, it doesn't make sense. So you can't force it down everybody's throat and expect us all to go that direction immediately because, wind power for my house and electric cars for me just does not make sense. And what I do, I guess.
All right, Bob, thank you for checking in. Appreciate it. And you're absolutely right. I always put this in the same spectrum as when flat screen TVs came out. So you had big CRTs they weighed 1 billion pounds, and they cost a lot of money because they were just gargantuan. Even the big projection TVs, they were just huge. When the first set of flat screens came out, you could argue that they were worse, right? They were super expensive. They were like $7,000 for a small flat screen television. And so if you were an early critic of the innovation and said, well, you have to be rich to own this, and the quality is not even that great, but you watch these technologies find themselves because of that part of the process. And I always think, like, in part of the innovation curve, you got to do dumb things for a little while until you hit critical mass, and then you can produce these technologies and they find their own way. What kills that is when you get corruption in that process where superior technologies die and inferior technologies get to survive. Then you don't have an evolution, and then you don't go from flat screens that were $5,000 and terrible to perfect crystal clear flat screens that cost, that are 80 inches and cost less than $1,000. And that's where I trust that if we're allowed to keep it out of the political sphere, that the innovations in harnessing solar, if you look at how all this actually works, terribly inefficient is why it takes so long to claw your money back. And like one of the first inefficiencies that I learned about with nuclear is you're taking an atom and you're releasing this huge amount of energy from an atom. And you're like, okay, let's take advantage of that energy release. Well, the best and easiest way for us to take advantage of it is to heat water up. So we're using the thermal energy that comes off of an atomic reaction and producing the heat to boil water to turn, a boiler, and that's how electricity is created. But there are other energies that can be released. They're just far beyond what we're capable of harnessing at this point. So we got to take the primitive of what we can take advantage of and boil water and turn a generator that way. But in the future, maybe we take more advantage of a photon that's coming down and then create a better reaction that has a higher potential for an output. Instead of a solar panel making 150 watts, maybe your average solar panel can take advantage so much from that photon reaction in those metals that you're getting 1,000 watts out of that same panel. But if it's not allowed to innovate up, if you have what happened to solar panels when the Chinese took it over and ripped out all of the efficiencies and pretty much squashed that technology, then 10 years go by and you're dealing with the same inefficient stuff. And it could have had, think about all the room it would have had to roam upward and to become something if it weren't for that. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Mike next. Mike, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
I got solar panels here, 5 big ones. And I got the best they could get in 77. And this summer it made 500 kilowatts through April to now. It was 1228 on my meter and went to 1728.
So do you have a battery bank, or do you just push it back in through the grid?
Well, I do have a battery bank for solar for Harbor Freight panels to run my lights in the house.
Okay.
And then I send power from the big panels to the city to help run their lights.
Okay. And your experience so far, are you a proponent, or would you make the investment again if given today's choice in technology?
Well, if I get ahead a little bit, I'm going to put some more up.
Okay.
Because they do work good if you get the good ones.
And does it provide enough light exposure in what Ohio can provide here to recharge and to give you, good fill on your batteries?
Yeah, it's my lights have been working great. I use brass lamps with glass globes, the green and red, and did take that new technology to them. So
beautiful. So now, when you're shopping for like appliances and lighting, do you have considerations where you're buying lower wattage things so it conforms into your system a little bit better?
Yeah, they have to use special bulbs for that.
Okay, bulbs and refrigerators and anything. So
yeah.
Okay. All right, Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate you checking in. It's good to hear from an actual solar owner who gives it thumbs up and buying quality that is providing enough sun collection or photon collection to create enough energy to battery bank. And the way that works is if the usable energy, like let's just say off of the solar panels, you're making 300 watts, right? So I use my panel to charge that 300 watts, charges a 12-volt battery. And so I'm not actually using any of the electricity. I'm charging the batteries first and foremost. Once the battery's at capacity, then it can be pushed back in through my local grid, where it actually plugs a plug back into it, and it will run the electricity that's running through that leg of my house. And so I'll be consuming my own solar power before I pull anything in new from the road. Once that's filled, then they have special electrical valves, in quotes, that will allow the power to run the meter backwards and the pump back in, and allow your neighbors and anybody who's on your leg of the grid to work that. So if you have plentiful power, batteries, local use, and then pushing it back out is the way that works. And, so, and honestly, like if we can get enough people participating that way, in especially these other areas, the consumers, the people that are pushing that out, if I pay for a bunch of panels, I could actually become a vendor to the city or to the state that allows me to be a producer that, people who are not doing it can buy electricity off. And they make that lucrative, then more people buy the panels, not just for what they can do on their own home and the value that it adds on the resale of the house, but they can also be, like I said, sell back that electricity. In Ohio, it has been, since the very beginning of me paying attention to it, we have very low rates for electricity, almost like 5 cents a kilowatt hour. So if you're selling back to, the grid, and they're only giving you 5 cents a kilowatt hour, that's really low, right? But if you get into where like California, and where we got 27, 30 cents a kilowatt hour, that's an actually, a pretty good sell back to the grid. So there will be more people involved. Like, it's bad that electricity prices and utility prices go up, but it's good because then it gives an incentive for people to produce these because I don't believe that we're going to be building any new power stations. They're 20-year build times. The regulations make it almost like it's not going to happen. So if we can privatize and make individual consumers give them the ability to sell excess power, let them buy their own panels and sell back to the cities and states, maybe we fill in a percentage of our capacity with just what consumers are able to provide. So it's interesting. The phone number, 330-729-9977. The calls have been great, so keep those calls coming. Sue, I see you out there. I'll make sure I come to your call as soon as we get back from this break. A bunch of text messages to read through too, so I'll get those, and also Facebook messages. I'll get all that when we come back. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
It's that time of year again for the experts at R. Kashmiri and Associates to review your Medicare plan. Open enrollment runs through December 7th. Let them design a personalized benefits package for you. R. Kashmiri authorized agents who partner with top insurance companies. Go to rkashmiri.com. That's RKASHMIRY.com. R. Kashmiri does not offer every plan available in our area. Information provided is limited to those plans that R. Kashmiri offers. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all your options.
You've been told you have neuropathy. Tired of the burning, numbness, and tingling? Tri-State Neuropathy Centers in Boardman get results.
My legs were on fire from my toes to my knees. They were numb. I've gone to 46 doctors. I was desperate. Believe me, I was desperate. I would do anything to get better because my life wasn't the life I wanted. It's the first time I'm able to walk. I couldn't walk more than 3-4 steps. Now I can walk blocks.
And I went to doctors and they'd give me pills. My improvement has gone 60% and I'm on my way to 100%.
Don't listen to the neurologist when I tell you there's nothing that can be done. And once a nerve is dead, it's dead. Because there is something that can be done. I'm living proof of that.
Tri-State Neuropathy Centers. Suffering from neuropathy? Visit marydanston.com or call 330-953-3339. That's 330-953-3339. Tri-State Neuropathy Centers serving the entire Tri-County area.
If you manage a business, you know how important it is to continually find new customers and new ways to save money. Here at iHeartMedia, we can help with both. We reach more consumers in your area than anyone else, and we can give you access to those potential customers more cost-effectively than anyone else across radio, digital, podcasting, OTT, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. So contact us at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
I always look to bring you information that you may not know. I don't want to be master of the obvious. But Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet, they purchase inventory from local stock. There's well-serviced cars and trucks, and they know about them. They also restock with your trade-in, or sometimes a direct sale from you to the dealership. Columbiana, right now at present, does not purchase from auctions, and they never purchase rentals. So information you may or may not have known, go find out. Low-pressure dealership. DriveColumbiana.com. Tell them Dan sent you.
Promote clean air by choosing a smarter way to commute. Save money, improve your health, and enhance our air quality. Find out more information at MahoningValleyAir.com and GoHio.com. That's MahoningValleyAir.com and GoHio.com to find out more about how you can help.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
What if there was an app where you could listen to this radio station plus hundreds more from across the country? What if that app had every song from every artist that you love, along with the biggest podcast in the world?
Impossible.
Well, we couldn't find an app with it all. So we made it. And then we made it completely free. The free iHeartRadio app is the future of audio, and it's available now in your app store. Listen to what you want, when you want, wherever you want to. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all the music, radio, and podcasts you love.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. Today we got rain, 100% chance, 58 is the high, low is 38. Tomorrow we've got a 40% chance of rain. It's going to start dropping, 44 degrees, low of 29, chance of rain showers. And then Sunday it's going to be really cold, colder than we're used to. 36 degrees is the high, 28 the low, 60% chance of snow showers, and it is 59 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Right away, let's go off to Sue. Sue, you are on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hi, great topic. Daylight savings time, hands down. As I was telling the call screener very quickly, I'm old enough to remember about close to 50 years ago, they tried that as an experiment to save energy, and results inconclusive. But there were so many side benefits. Less accidents and people coming home, really big improvement in mental health, seasonal affective disorder, just so many positives. Kids could play outside a little bit. And just a quick thing, sometimes I've seen school buses drop kids off as early as 2:15. So perhaps adjust that starting time, because nobody wants a child to be hurt. Nobody wants that. But, daylight savings time year-round wins hands down.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And so if you have a vote, you want to get your input in, it seems pretty much that changing it is not a great option because of the disruptions that it caused. So which of the two that you choose would be the having more light longer and then sticking with that? And then there's no downside to not changing it back in the spring. And so that seems like that's the favorite. So thank you for that phone call, 330-729-9977. This person says, are we going to listen to you all day, or can we have some callers? You're the most boring host that I've ever encountered. I 100% of the calls, every call that comes in, 100% of the time I take it as long as it's a legitimate call. So if you want to bring some entertainment, some liveliness to the show, you are invited. Go ahead and give me a call and share with me what you'd like to hear. And I'll be absolutely happy to add it into the show today. This says Facebook Live again with the block of Joe Danier Lemon, who can comment on the post. Only when you host, you say it's me, I say it's you. You have blocked somewhere in your system. Okay, fine. I'll give in. I'm blocking you. And it's a very personal thing. So I apologize for it, but I have an axe to grind. 330-729-9977. I would call the voter infringement. I would call this voter infringement. It took my daughter hours of waiting in this massive line to vote Tuesday in Kentucky. And that's reasonable. And if voting industry does not worry about the experience of the voters and make it efficient and accurate and service oriented, right? You're going to have experiences, especially in densely populated areas. Everybody shows up to vote. Now, the other swing is just because you can't do it right in person does not mean that you do the worst thing, which is make it easier, but then make it insecure. There's a happy medium. You can make it better without making it insecure. I will not concede that you cannot have speed and accuracy. It just takes intelligence, and it doesn't feel like these systems get more intelligent. It gets more politically strategized, and that's where we start going wrong. If it becomes a political strategy, then you lose that reasonability, and reasonable people like me are like, come on, let's start over. Let's be reasonable about it. 330-729-9977. Phone calls are the lines are loaded here, so I'll get to your calls as soon as we get back from these commercial breaks. So everybody stay on the line, please. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons: sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios, available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, number one for podcasting, 570 WKBN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. Egypt is the first stop on President Biden's foreign trip. It's the United Nations Climate Summit, where he said the eyes of history are on us to deal with climate change.
Thanks to the actions we've taken, I can stand here as President of the United States of America and say with confidence, the United States of America will meet our emissions targets by 2030.
An issue of contention at the summit. Some of the world's poorer countries want richer nations to give them money for problems caused by global warming. The U.S. is not fully on board with that proposal. The president's major meeting later in the trip, his face-to-face with Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20 summit. ABC's Karen Travers has more.
They have had 5 phone conversations, and President Biden likes to talk about how he knows him very well, that they had many meetings when he was vice president, but this is the first time that they're going to sit down in person since he has become president. Very high stakes meeting. They have a very extensive agenda that includes Taiwan, human rights, the global economy, Russia, and the war in Ukraine.
Veterans Day being observed across the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and the First Lady Jill Biden arriving just now at Arlington National Cemetery. Cryptocurrency exchange FTX has begun sponsoring sports venues and events. It signed high-profile endorsers, but the company has now begun bankruptcy proceedings amid a liquidity crisis. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis explains what happens now.
Anyone with money on the exchange wants it back now. Meantime, anyone with a stake in the company, Giselle, Tom Brady, and the founder, they stand to have their millions or even billions of dollars wiped out.
The CEO has resigned. Vote counting continues in Nevada and Arizona to determine the winners of the Senate races there. That could control which party controls the upper chamber. Also, counting continues in the race for governor of Arizona. You're listening to ABC News.
A terrifying incident at a daycare center in Warren, Ohio, when Lamar Mitchell barreled through a door straight into a kid's classroom with Warren police right behind him. They tackled him inside a play area. The 39-year-old was wanted on a felonious assault warrant and ran from police trying to initiate a traffic stop.
Not even gonna lie, I cried when I watched the video because just hearing the babies crying in the video, I could hear my sons cry.
This mother of 2 children inside at the time told 3 News they are traumatized and fearful. A sheriff's deputy is back on the job after being fired in 2020. 40-year-old Jesse Franklin kicked an inmate in the head in the Hamilton County Justice Center. He was terminated for excessive force, but found not guilty of charges. And because of that, an arbitrator found Franklin should be reinstated. Cleveland is awaiting commissioning of the USS Cleveland naval warship that is being constructed right now in Wisconsin. And on this Veterans Day, Naval Reserve Lieutenant Matt Previtz, who is the director of the USS Cleveland Legacy Foundation, says the crew has been assigned and is already experiencing Cleveland hospitality.
we brought down some things from Cleveland. We brought Mally's, and they couldn't believe that they were all getting chocolate. And the ship's hull number is going to be number 31. And so Jared Allen from the Cavs signed a 31 jersey, and we gave it to the crew, and they were over the moon about that. They're starting to get a sense that this community really cares for them.
The foundation's missions are to support the crew throughout the life of USS Cleveland, which will be deployed in the Middle East and Caribbean, and to return the warship to the North Coast when it is retired. Governor Mike DeWine is announcing additional resources available to veterans and their spouses looking for work in the Buckeye State. He says former military members can opt to receive one-on-one assistance in their job searches through ohiomeansjobs.com, and the statewide work search system will mark resumes of military spouses so they stand out to employers. I'm AC Jepson.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN.
From the Honda store in Boardman, home of zero down, zero do-it signing, and zero payments for 30 days.
Route 305 between Mahoning Avenue and Route 5 is closed for road construction, and North 4 Mile Run Road is closed due to road construction between County Line Road and West Liberty Street. I'm John Crawford in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by News Nation. Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 8 p.m. Eastern. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnationnow.com/join us.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Have the rain gear handy today. Rain will be likely. It will be moderate to heavy at times. Staying mild today with temperatures returning to the upper 50s this afternoon. Rain will wind down into tonight. It'll turn colder with temperatures dropping to the upper 30s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by The Truth with Lisa Booth's podcast.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danier, filling in for Dan, ready to get you into the weekend. So I have a couple of segments here, and then we're going to be doing the radio graffiti like normal. We'll have that segment at the very end of the show. 330-729-9977. And let's go to Pete next. Pete, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah. Did you watch the vote there with Tim Ryan and all that throughout that whole election program that they had?
Did I watch the debate?
Yeah, the debates and stuff
sure
like
did.
that.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Did you notice that? I'm sorry. There's so much noise going on next door. Did you, by chance, ever notice how many heavy hitters from the Democratic Party came up here to help Tim Ryan to win the vote?
Did they?
No, I don't recall any heavy hitters from the Democratic Party coming up here to support Tim.
Yeah, and from one of the interviews I heard is that he was not very welcoming to that kind of help as well. So I don't know if it was both ways, where he didn't get the help or he didn't want the help.
Well, let's look at it this way. Tim's got 23 years in. He gets full retirement, full medical. Now, what happened there was, by him coming out there, he might have been the only person to win that election. But what did it do? It forced the conservative Republicans to spend millions of dollars to get their man in office. That's my line of thinking. He knew he wasn't going to win, but he was hopeful if anybody could have pulled it off, it would have been him. But it forced the Republican Party to go ahead and spend millions of dollars to get it there. Think about it. Tim Ryan has brought in hundreds of millions of dollars into the economy here in Ohio for the years he was in there. And that was never really brought up, as how much money he brought in to help this state out. None of it. And now all of a sudden, he lost it. He didn't want to even bring that up. I don't know why he didn't bring it up. So my line of thinking is, it was a strategic play that the conservative Republicans would have dumped hundreds of millions of dollars in, millions of dollars in here so that their man could get voted in.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Pete. 330-729-9977. Could be that Tim was a sacrificial lamb where the race was intended to be able to siphon off money from other races in an effort to something that he knew he was going to lose, but he was going to go off into retirement. So it's possible. I don't know. I don't know that many politicians will die on the sword like that. But you never know. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Mike next. Mike, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Good morning, Joe.
Hi.
I will vote for daylight saving time. And contrary to that one caller, you are such a breath of fresh air on this show. I wish you were here 5 days a week.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. And there's
a lot of us in the Valley that we love talk radio. We just don't want to hear the Trump theme every day, 5 days a week, over and over and over again. We like difference. We want to hear different people's opinions, different trains of thought. And you are fantastic. I wish you'd be there a lot more.
Well, Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate you checking in. And that's another vote for daylight savings time. And I'll tell you, I give a lot of credit for people who have to do this every day of their lives. You could think that, sometimes I'll do 2 and 3 days in a row. And on the fourth day, I'm thinking, I'm glad they didn't ask me to do a fourth, because what the heck would I've talked about? I had all this emotional and things I wanted to talk about, but once you get that out in the airwaves, you're like, man, I'd had to repeat some kind of idea at certain points. So, but Mike, thank you so much. That's very kind of you, and I really do take doing these shows very serious. It's a big blessing. Grew up listening to these stations, and I loved being able to hear the differing opinions and the arguments and the debates and the new ideas. Loved it. It formed me as a human being, and now I get to be part of that. It's just amazing for me. So 330-729-9977. Next is Joey. Joey, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, that last caller, or the one before the last one about Tim Ryan and the money bringing into the Valley, 23 years. That's why we need term limits. That's all I got to say. Term limits, term limits, term limits. Get in, do your job, get out. Don't make a career out of being a politician. Have a nice day.
Amen. Thank you, Joey. And I share your sentiments. The position of being a politician, that is a lifelong thing. Always to find the corruption and power and money as you spend more and more days in there. Sweep it out and get new blood in there, new innovative ideas. And even if they're worse in certain ways, it's new. And if we get in these cycles of holding on to the old forever, we're just going to have the same stuff that we do right now. Break up those power brokers and lose that ability to have so much influence on our daily lives. And I want to not pay attention to national things on a daily, right? I prefer to spend more time on the local side. But you notice that these people who've been there forever have a never-ending train of crisis that are constantly getting your attention. The most important election of your lifetime, and your liberties are going to be gone, and destruction and there's always, so like you could hit a stopwatch on when the next crisis to gather your attention that ultimately means that you get more you get less liberties, you have to give up more things that you have, and they're your saviors, right? So we got to break that cycle where they have less power and less influence and less say, and meaning that we can pay attention to them way less than we do right now. They're too important in our lives. Get them out. 330-729-9977. This person says, personally, I would prefer to keep daylight time all year long. I would rather get up in the dark in the morning and have daylight left at the end of the workday. It doesn't seem like there's much reason these days, with people having so many different shifts and schedules. The only somewhat valid one that I have heard is for the school children's safety and the buses being driven around. But wouldn't it make more sense and would be more reasonable to change those schedules around then, instead of having everybody adhere to that new schedule? Good question. If you could take the schedule of a school and move it around, make them show up earlier and stay later or whatever, it's interesting. And so thank you for that. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. If our government succeeds at staying on daylight savings time, half the country will complain. If they don't succeed, the other half will complain. Whatever happened to compromise, where we could move a half hour and get the worst of both sides, and that comes from Jim in Austintown. You notice a theme here? Like, no matter what you do, you're going to have half the people that wish you didn't do it and half happy. So it's almost like an entire system is a pendulum swing that gives some people a day in the sun, and just knowing that one day the time in the sun will be returning to you, and you have to be patient and let other people enjoy their time in the sun. Yours will come back. 330-729-9977. Kids have no business going to school at 7 a.m. in the morning. Anyhow, school time should be moved back to 8:30. Interesting. 330-729-9977. Bunch of Facebook comments. Let me go back through here. It's wonderful watching Trump destroy the GOP within. Was anybody surprised, though, that at the very time that all of this stuff is happening, the election's happening, the Twitter buyout for Elon Musk, that Trump pops up and says that I'm going to run again? Like, this stuff is so contrived. And I don't know why, this would be the perfect time. It seems like I was almost feeling good that things were stabilizing a little bit. And I felt like that, once you get the gridlock in Congress, that you had a good chance that, there was going to be some across the aisle seeking. And it was setting the stage so that there wasn't so much polarization. You could see an end where people would begrudgingly work together because now it was necessary. And then you have somebody pop up that polarizes us back, and Trump, regardless how you feel about him, he's a polarizing figure. So all of that, like, do you want the polarizing fight, or do you want the potential of compromise? And I'm in the camp of gridlock and compromise. Come to a screeching halt. I don't necessarily, I was all for, if you had a personality that came into politics and said they were going to clean up the swamp. I'm a big advocate for penalizing people who are breaking rules and laws and solidifying where they're at, and that's really good to break up. So that's really appealing to me. And it maybe what he did was sort of upended that and showed us that the swamp is super deep. But I'm almost convinced that a single person is not going to decide that. A single person is not going to be able to unearth that. Now that it's exposed, it's up to the voters to dial back the influence and the power that they have, so that somebody did pop up, that they could take it more of a law enforcement approach. But I think it's so broken and it's so corrupt that I don't think one man, the only thing that man's going to do is get himself destroyed. I don't necessarily think he himself or one person can come in there and clean it up. As much as I want that to happen, right? I don't think that the downside of Trump is not now beneficial, or the upside of Trump is not beneficial enough to overcome the downside of Trump. And so, like, if you said, DeSantis or somebody who might be a little bit better at compromise or working well and not so polarizing, I think that would be if I'm a Republican, and that would be my better choice. But I don't know on the Democrat side, even what you do, I don't think things are going to get better for Joe. I think he's struggling quite a bit in what he's able to do on the public sphere. And I don't think that's going to get better just with the addition of time. So 330-729-9977. Let's make sure I can do this. Yes, and we're going to go to Jimmy next. Jimmy, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you? Hello, Jimmy. You there? Caller, line one. You're on. All right, I'm going to put you back on hold and check back with you here in a little bit. I did bring up Twitter, and so let me kind of bring everybody up to speed on what's going on there. This long saga over the summer of whether or not Elon Musk was going to buy Twitter went back and forth, where he wanted to buy it and they didn't want to sell it, and then he put the offer in, and then they were going to hold him to that offer. And so this back and forth, really didn't know if he was ever going to take control of Twitter. Well, it's been a dramatic set of events since then. And he did end up, I think 2 Fridays ago, started, instituting and bringing in his vision of what Twitter was going to be. Massive layoffs, where we had a labor force of about 7,000 people, cut that right in half. Now it's about 3,500. And started changing the bans and the shadow bannings, and bringing some accounts back from where they were before. Now, Twitter, if you didn't know this, was a very highly I'm going to call it like it was manicured. It was conditioned, And so a lot of the conversations, there was stuff that you could just not talk about without getting yourself banned, or at least shadow banning, which is, you're not technically banned, but nobody sees what you say. So effectively you're shadow banned. But there was a lot of types of speech that were being suppressed within Twitter, and Twitter was garbage for a long time. I didn't participate at all. Only recently did I start using it again because it was garbage. And so Elon takes over. They start reversing some of those bans. They open it up to more a free exchange of ideas. And, a lot of stuff that you aren't used to seeing, now you're seeing. And remember, I came from both sides, where I've seen the Wild West, where there's no rules and how people behave and who gets involved. And it's not a pretty place, right? It's lots of hardcore language and hardcore visuals, and those people who get involved, they kind of ruin it, because now it's, you go from G to R pretty quick. And so the biggest part, you have racism, and you have polarization, you have hate speech, you have anti, gay, lesbian, transgender, all of that. And then so you get these people that disagree, and they use the megaphone that is Twitter to voice their displeasure with any of these things, which means that if you are any of those things, if you're a minority group, if you're transgender, or you're in the crosshairs, that stuff's hard to see and hear. Well, for a time, Twitter was insulating people from that not being allowed on their platform, and all of a sudden, some of that has been allowed back in, and so you get a lot more conservative voices. Now, I guess the premise is that I'm kind of disappointed in us that we tolerate so much of that suppression from all of the social media groups, right? So I don't, it's the private platforms, but we use them in more of a public / utility setting. But the disconcerting thing is that it took a billionaire to buy a company and open and let more free thoughts flow over there. How many billionaires that have that philosophical persuasion are going to buy up all the other social media? Very few. Like, what happens if Musk didn't come along and buy up Twitter? What would have happened? Well, it'd have continued to even harden in the ability to suppress certain speech. And remember, libertarian, what thwarts terrible speech is better speech, more speech. So more people that are at the table that can rationalize and argue against things that we don't want to see and hear. Those positions lose when given the ability for everybody to talk and share their opinion. And that's what, even the blessing that we have here is that this radio station, we can get on here and say what we want. What would happen if, I only wanted to hear conservative views, or I only wanted to hear liberal views, and everybody else I didn't allow on the air? They didn't get to. It would seem a lot like, wow, liberals or conservatives are way more plentiful because that's all I allowed on the air. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hey friends, don't let hearing loss keep you from experiencing the things you love. Dan Rivers inviting you to head to the folks I trust, Hearing Innovations. At Hearing Innovations, they do more than just test your hearing. Their board-certified audiologists and professional staff are committed to meeting your unique needs and the big picture of your overall health. And of course, using the latest technology, cutting-edge methods without draining your wallet. And ask about their service-as-needed packages. Go to hearinginnovations.com. That's hearinginnovations.com. We listen so you can hear. Hi again, friends. Dan Rivers for my friend Sam Pizzulo Homes and Remodeling, recipient of the Best Ohio Homes, Best Kitchen Renovation, and HBA Remodeling Member of the Year. Sam offers new home construction with 3D rendering and virtual tours, complete product selection in their Canfield Design Showroom. Kitchen and bath remodeling, basement remodeling, certified handicapped accessible remodeling, Sam Pizzulo Homes and Remodeling. Call Sam, 533-2137 or sampizzulohomes.com.
It's Ron Verb. If you have hearing issues or someone in your family does, that journey starts. The solution starts at the Centers for Hearing Care. The right equipment, audiologist, that's where you start. And then when we determine what is best for your hearing, which hearing aid suits you the best, you can take it for a test drive. See if you like it. Who else does that? We want satisfaction from you. We want to restore that hearing so that you can enjoy life. That journey begins at the Centers for Hearing Care, 330-779-8096.
There's lots of things to worry about. Hi, this is Dan Rivers. Take some of that off your plate. I want you to trust my longtime friend, Dr. Jim Collins. Dr. Jim Collins has the purest CBD brands on the market. It's an ethical company headed by a gerontologist, and he's located in Poland, 1975 East Western Reserve Road in Poland. Manage the symptoms with Sapphire Essentials. I love these products. You will too. SapphireEssentials.com.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
So here we are. It's already Friday, and you haven't called? Come on. Don't put this off another week. It's too important. If you know of someone that is suffering from peripheral neuropathy, you can pretty much diagnose it yourself. You've got that burning, tingling feeling. It's probably got it. And we've got a group here that can help you fix it. What they do is they help your body regrow nerve cells. It's the only cure. It really is. They've helped over 7,000 patients with a 90% satisfaction rate, and they can help you put your life back together. And here's the thing about it. Medication is not going to help this if that's what you have. So call Dr. Sean Ritchie, Dr. Jared Yevans, good men, 330-953-3339. They're in Poland, right next to Walgreens. No cost for the initial consultation. It's too important not to do it. 330-953-3339. 330-953-3339. Come Monday, I hope you've done it.
In celebration of our 73rd anniversary, Merritt Floor & Home will be holding a drawing to give away $7,300 worth of prizes to current customers and all those making a qualifying purchase during the month of November. And to make it easy, all flooring will be reduced up to 40%, along with 0% financing. Daily drawing will be held December 1st through 12th. You could be a winner. Visit a Merritt Floor & Home showroom for details on Route 168 in Villant, PA, or Route 45 in North Jackson, Ohio. PA number 2511.
What if there was an app where you could listen to this radio station plus hundreds more from across the country? What if that app had every song from every artist that you love, along with the biggest podcasts in the world?
Impossible.
Well, we couldn't find an app with it all. So we made it. And then we made it completely free. The free iHeartRadio app is the future of audio, and it's available now in your app store. Listen to what you want, when you want, wherever you want to. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all the music, radio, and podcasts you love.
All right, you got your STEM Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. We got today, high of 60 degrees, 100% chance of rain, low of 51. Saturday, we got a 40% chance of showers, high of 44, and then it gets cold. Sunday, we got a chance of snow showers, 60% chance with only a high of 36 degrees. It is currently 59 here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Texter just says, did I hear you right? This is personal and you have an axe to grind with me. If that's the case, be a man and grind it. Here's where my information is. Julie, no, I was being snarky and dismissive. You accused me of blocking you, which I have 0 people blocked. Security settings are at everyone. So that is as far as I'm going to take it. Last time, I'm going to explain to you, it's nothing being blocked. You're not being singled out. I gave in and said it is an axe to grind because I was being facetious. Little joke. But no, I'm not blocking you. You are free to do whatever you want, but don't accuse me of blocking you. I'm not doing anything. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Chris next. Chris, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, sir. I would like to know your definition of a science denier.
My definition of a science denier?
You had made mention of in your monologue about science deniers.
Okay. So I believe I was reading something in Science Denier, but if you want sort of like my definition of it, I would say in spite of having information, in spite of having information, being in a delusional state where you still refer to something that isn't in spite of knowing. That's the way I would define it.
Well, there's nothing. That's why they call it science. There's nothing etched in stone when it comes to science. They change their ideas back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Would you, in your personal opinion, are you familiar with the Dust Bowl?
The Dust Bowl. I've heard of it.
When we had severe droughts, I believe it was in the 20s.
Okay.
What do you think caused that?
I don't know. I don't have a theory. Like, can I put you on hold real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll be back here in a second. 330-729-9977. We'll take a quick break. We'll have another segment, and then we're going to go into Radio Graffiti after that. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
If you manage a business, you know how important it is to continually find new customers and new ways to save money. Here at iHeartMedia, we can help with both. We reach more consumers in your area than anyone else, and we can give you access to those potential customers more cost-effectively than anyone else across radio, digital, podcasting, OTT, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. So contact us at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
How about where we are with technology now? I want to tell you something about Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet. Go to their website, drivecolumbiana.com, click on a car or an automobile that you'd like to purchase, and then say chat. And you can start chatting with someone at the dealership about that automobile. And you can do it all from the comfort of your own home. Chat away and maybe get the car or truck that you want with no muss, no fuss. DriveColumbiana.com. DriveColumbiana.com. Tell them Dan Rivers sent you.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bills. That's bills. Enter it now. Stories you're thinking about.
Improve border security.
There's more people than ever coming.
It's a humanitarian crisis. Crime.
Because I am a mom too.
Check in for this story and more.
It's important to know the facts.
The news stories are on 570 WKBN.
President Biden in Egypt addressing world leaders at the annual UN Climate Summit. The president says the U.S. has rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement and says it's doing its part to respond to the climate crisis.
The climate crisis is about human security, economic security, environmental security, national security, and the very life of the planet.
Next stop on his trip, the president goes to Bali for the G20 summit and is expected to meet with China's leader on the sidelines. Vice President Kamala Harris at Arlington National Cemetery this hour for the National Veterans Day observance. She participated in a wreath-laying ceremony along with First Lady Jill Biden and the second gentleman. Election officials in Arizona and Nevada counties are still counting ballots in close congressional and state races. Nevada's largest counties say votes will likely be tallied through the weekend. On Wall Street, stocks are mixed in afternoon trading. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Have the rain gear handy today. Rain will be likely. It will be moderate to heavy at times, staying mild today with temperatures returning to the upper 50s this afternoon. Rain will wind down into tonight. It'll turn colder with temperatures dropping to the upper 30s. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
She's bold and she's fearless, and she's running for governor of Arizona. Carrie Lake joins me
on The Truth with Lisa Booth. And listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday, but you can listen throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You won't want to miss the red tag sale at the Stadium GM Pre-Owned Superstore. Everything on our huge lot is marked down. Cars starting from $5,000, trucks from $6,000. And right now, you'll also find a great selection of 2019 Chevy Equinoxes from just $259 a month with zero down. And if you're looking for luxury, we have the area's best selection of pre-owned Cadillacs. Log on to stadiumgm.com to see it all, fill out a credit app, and then come to the store where you can get a Chevy Equinox for just $259 a month. The Stadium GM Pre-Owned Superstore in Salem. See dealer for details.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
So here we are. It's already Friday, and you haven't called? Come on. Don't put this off another week. It's too important. If you know of someone that is suffering from peripheral neuropathy, you can pretty much diagnose it yourself. You've got that burning, tingling feeling. It's probably got it. And we've got a group here that can help you fix it. What they do is they help your body regrow nerve cells. It's the only cure. It really is. They've helped over 7,000 patients with a 90% satisfaction rate, and they can help you put your life back together. And here's the thing about it. Medication is not going to help this if that's what you have. So call Dr. Sean Ritchie, Dr. Jared Yevans, good men, 330-953-3339. They're in Poland, right next to Walgreens. No cost for the initial consultation. It's too important not to do it. 330-953-3339, 330-953-3339. Come Monday, I hope you've done it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers Show, and we're going another couple minutes, and then we're going to get into radio graffiti. So if you want to get your quick statements ready, we'll just rapid fire take phone calls and let you share in a quick statement what's on your mind. But before we went off the break, we were talking with Chris, and this is important. I want to key in on this, and that's why I held him over, which was pointing out, and when we have discussions, it is important from objective people like myself that all sides get heard. And I really like when we have more questions than we have statements, because I don't believe that any of us know anything for sure. I think we're in a constant deal where we're collecting data and we go through the motions of trying to find the best outcome based on the information we have. So I want to give Chris the ability to make his case, and then I want you to understand that even if you disagree, that it's important that we hear out people's cases and concerns. So let's go back to Chris. Chris, you got the floor again, my friend.
Yeah, what you just said is the definition, I think, of science.
Amen.
Science is always, how many times, this is bad for you. No, wait a minute. Now it's good for you. Oh, but then they find out a little bit more. Well, too much of it is bad for you. You know what I mean? And we're constantly moving forward.
And so you started, go ahead. You started talking about the Dust Bowl and what your feeling was on what created the circumstances for massive drought.
Right. It was massive drought. And then finally we got through that cycle. In Elwood City in picturesque Ewan Park, underneath the Ewan Park Bridge, there was a glacier cut that gorge out through there back when we were in the Ice Age. So we went through, the point I'm trying to make, long and short of it, is we went through cycles before. Now they want to blame everything that happens. If it's too warm, it's climate change. If it's too hot, it's climate change. If we have a drought, it's climate change. If we have a flood, it's climate change. Everything is climate change. They're trying to force this agenda down our throats. And you brought up a good point about, I think it was televisions.
Yeah.
Well, at least nobody knocked on their door and confiscated our tube-type televisions.
Exactly.
When transistors came out, everybody was free to buy the technology if they wanted it that they preferred. And that's where I stand. I believe in if you want an electric car or you want to put up a windmill in your yard to generate electricity, or you want to cover your whole house with solar panels, I feel that should be up to you and shouldn't be subsidized by the government. But if you want to do it, more power to you. And, if you have an opinion that's contrary to mine, I'll stand up, even though I disagree with it, I'll stand up for you to be able to say it.
Amen, Chris, and that is the way to be. And I really appreciate that sentiment, and that makes us better and stronger. The one thing that I cannot stand, and I said it before, is that when people who come with authority and they proclaim that they know when they really don't, because then you believe them, and they get it almost becomes like a sub-religion where you have these authorities that are fake authorities and they're convincing you things that they can't come through on. And even if you had evidence down the road. So, for instance, the one I've been asking this for forever. We've had climate models for 40 years is where we started really having technology that can make computer modeling worthwhile. So there was a point where they modeled the year 2022. So you can model it. Let's just say we create these models and they're super accurate. Well, what we thought then 20 years ago, like in 2002, what did the 2002 model say about 2022? Gauge it and find out how accurate it was based on what is the reality today. And then we'll know our plus and minus. We'll know how accurate we're modeling this stuff out. Now, objective people are going to say, okay, well, this isn't a religion, so we're allowed to go back and forth. We're going to say we do stupid things that cause damage and we release toxins and we do things that we could do different things. Fine, that's okay. If you want to go out and create an industry around a cleaner version of that, and if it has merit, go do it. But let's not make a religion of fossil fuels and a religion of solar panels. That's stupid. Let's let the marketplace decide what they want. And if fossil fuels are cheaper, then it's going to help people who to afford technologies that get them to work every day, and it's going to cost them less. And then if you put some scratch together and you want to invest in something like solar panels and windmills, right? So go do that. Invest in what you believe and put your dollars behind your principles. It's that middle ground where some people want to tell other people what to do. They don't really have that control. In our market, you take care of yourself. And I don't know many of you out there that are taking care of yourselves well enough to start worrying about what other people should do. So I think draw that 2-foot perimeter around you, make your life reflect your beliefs, right? And then what you do is influence people and tell them how what's inside your 2-foot perimeter is better than theirs and try to persuade them. We get in this, I fear tyranny more than anything else. And when we get into a pattern where we're telling other people that they're either stupid or we shame them or trying to control their behaviors, right? That scares the crap out of me, because I don't think anybody should, beyond themselves, should have any control over another human being, and be it direct control or social pressures control, or what we do in these pseudosciences where we try to make people feel bad because we make them feel stupid. If our caller there believes that climate changing is a natural tendency, right? He's just as intelligent seeing a theme of logic than a person that says when we dump things in the ocean, we cause problems or when we release CO2. Both of them have merit, and you sit both those people at the table and you hammer out what they have right, you hammer out what they have wrong, and then through that collaboration, we stop trying to make each other feel stupid. Because if you want to end a debate or end cooperation, go ahead and sling something out that tries to demean or take advantage or insult someone's intelligence, and I wouldn't feel like talking to you either. But that's what we do in political discourse, and we all end up stupider because of it. And I'm sick of that. We're too smart. We have too many smart people, too many geniuses out there to watch everybody go out in the political realm and act foolish and not be able to get anything done. That's the craziness that I never understand of how we are so limited only because that's the way we behave, and that's what's popular, and that's what's the culture is supporting, and it's the dumbest thing. And it takes someone like me sitting by the sidelines, or an objective observer that say, yeah, you know what, you could be getting something done with that same amount of energy that you're using just to take chunks out of another human being that's trying just as hard as you are to pursue what they're passionate and principled about, and what makes them happy in their freedom. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Thanks for that phone call. I appreciate it. After this break, we're going to come back with Radio Graffiti. So line up those phone calls, and then you have a couple seconds to make your statement, and we'll move on to the next call. Phone number 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
There's nothing in our area like Copeland Oaks. Dining venues, beauty and barbershops, chapel, worship services, indoor pool, fitness room, woodworking shop, and art studio. Shopping and restaurants just nearby. Assisted living apartments, independent villas. Copeland Oaks. Visit Simon. Copeland Oaks, 800 South 15th Street, Sebring. Phone 330-938-6126 or copelandoaks.com.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons: sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
How about this? Celebrating over 40 years in business, Boardman Coin and Jewelry. Market Street, Boardman, Great East Plaza, Niles. Buying it all: gold, silver, diamonds, coins, jewelry, and watches. Come in, get your best price before you sell. Boardman Coin and Jewelry buyers.
Wonder where financial success starts? It starts with the J. Arnold Wealth Management Show, Monday nights at 6. John Arnold is one of the most successful financial wealth management companies in the tri-state region. J. Arnold Wealth Management, your financial future, Mondays at 6 p.m.
Looking for a new and rewarding career? Then join the team at Trivium Packaging in Youngstown. Trivium is now hiring machinists, operators, and technicians. Starting pay $21 per hour. Competitive benefits starting day one. And a $4,000 signing bonus. Be part of a clean, safe environment that is working to make a positive change to our planet. Be a part of the Trivium Packaging team. Find your next career at Trivium Packaging. Apply at careers.triviumpackaging.com.
If you're in a room with 4 other people, chances are one of you has already been an identity theft victim. 1 in 5. Watching your accounts and credit isn't enough. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. Nobody can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% on their first year with promo code BECK at LifeLock.com. Promo code BECK, save 25% off your first year.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast brought to you by Team Office. So we got today a high of 60 degrees with 100% chance of rain. Saturday, we got 44 degrees with a chance of rain, 40%. And then Sunday, chance of snow showers, 60% chance with a high of 36 degrees. And it is 60 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. That is the weather. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. We're going to go into our Radio Graffiti. And what this is, if you've not experienced it before, we hit the line. We give you a statement or two to get your point across, and we move on to the next caller. This will be your ability to share what's going on around in your noggin and share your insights and opinions with everybody, unfiltered. We can kind of go from there. 330-729-9977. Carter says the Earth's climate has been changing since day one, and the human element will not change it one bit. And again, another voice at the table, and everybody should feel like at least they have a chance to say that without saying, and everybody say contemplate, like maybe that's the case. All right, let's do Radio Graffiti. Are you ready? Let's go. Line 1, Radio Graffiti, you're on.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with the Pennsylvanians. Do they all have broken craniums? Did they all fall out of bed, drop to the floor, and bounce to their head? They never should have voted at all, but sent straight to concussion protocol.
All right, Radio Graffiti, line 3, you are on.
Did Michigan put Roe v. Wade on the ballot? And the people voted to keep Roe v. Wade intact.
All right, Radio Graffiti, the phone number 330-729-9977. Line 5, you're next.
Joe, you are the best thing that happened on this radio station. That's the only time I listen.
All right, thank you. Radio Graffiti, 330-729-9977. Line 1, you're up.
Emmanuel, you are the worst thing that ever happened to this radio station.
All right, Radio Graffiti, line 2, you are up. Line 2, go ahead. All right, 330-729-9977. Line 3, you are up.
Yes, sir. The best thing that ever happened to the Democratic Party was Donald Trump. Red wave my butt.
All right, Radio Graffiti, thank you for calling. 330-729-9977. Line 5, you're up. Radio Graffiti.
Yeah, Trump is the best thing that happened to the GOP, and more power to him in 2024.
All right, Radio Graffiti, line 1, you are up.
If you're in a room with 4 other people, chances are all 4 of you are being hurt by Biden's inflation.
All right, Radio Graffiti, line 2, you are up.
Accolades to you for having almost going 3 hours without talking politics and sports, especially golf. We had enough of that baloney. We have a lot of troubles in Mahoney County, too. I'm going to call next week and mention a few hazards. Thank you for the nice show, Joe.
All right, thank you so much. 330-729-9977. Line 3, you're on Radio Graffiti.
Yeah, man, you'll close your mouth, and it'll be the best thing that did ever happen to the show. Out.
All right, 330-729-9977. Line 4, Radio Graffiti. All right, line 5, you're on Radio Graffiti.
Yeah, hey, nothing to worry about in that Fetterman Oz case over in PA. They just hired a dead senator.
All right, line 5. Now line 1, you're on Radio Graffiti.
This is a correction to the idiot who called. I am not Emmanuel. I am my own person. I am not Emmanuel.
All right, line 2, you are on Radio Graffiti.
Yeah, the Dust Bowl was caused by people. They didn't manage the land right, and that's what caused it. It was a flood, it was a drought, but that was just part of it.
All right, thank you, Radio Graffiti. 330-729-9977. Line 3, you're on Radio Graffiti.
Go, Brandon. Go, Emmanuel. Go, Emmanuel.
All right, Radio Graffiti. Line 4, you're on.
Pennsylvania voters, you're all fired.
All right. Line 5, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can tell the people that still listen to the mainstream media.
All right, Radio Graffiti. Line 1, you are on.
Hey, Republicans, stop with the campaign promises and fix this election voting crap.
All right, Radio Graffiti, 330-729-9977. Line 2, you're on Radio Graffiti.
Yes, what is taking so long for this recount for the commissioner's race in Mahoney County?
All right, Radio Graffiti, thank you. Line 2. Line 3, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead. Go ahead, you're up. I think line 3 is not there, so let's go back to line 1. Line 1, you're on Radio Graffiti. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I already saw a T-shirt. Biden Fetterman 2024. It's a no-brainer.
Line 2, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
As history shows, both parties got us to this point. Wake the hell up already.
All right, line 2. Let's go to line 3. You're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Hi, am I on?
You are.
Hi, thanks. I was a PA resident. It mind boggles me. I don't understand how anybody can vote for Mr. Fetterman. I feel bad for the man with his medical issue, but you can't elect anybody like that into office. I'm glad I'm an Ohio resident. I love this state.
All right. Thank you, Radio Graffiti, 330-729-9977. Let's go to line 4. You're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Yeah, a suggestion for a new model for Pennsylvania. They can put it on their plates, their license plates. You've got a fool in Pennsylvania, millions of them.
All right. Line 4. Thank you so much. Line 5. You're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Hey, Joe, when Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, he already had 3 messages waiting from Dan Rivers.
All right. 330-729-9977. Line 1. Go ahead. Go ahead, line 1. All right, line 1. Moving on. Line 2. You're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
It's funny how Florida has more people in the state, but their election is done, figured out, and it's a done deal. And if Carrie Lake says anything about why is this taking so long, she's the bad person.
All right, line 2. Thank you. 330-729-9977. Line 3. You're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Thanks to all the servicemen out there, and we just want to thank you for your service.
Amen to that. And I was wondering when we were going to get some graffiti for the veterans. So happy and honoring those veterans here on this Veterans Day. So thank you. 330-729-9977. Line 1, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Tell Verb Timmy could help him now mow Beatrice's lawn.
All right. Thank you, line 1. 330-729-9977. Line 2, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Thank God the plumbing or the political ads are over, and we don't have to worry about hearing repeat over and over and over, just like I just said.
Thank you so much. Line 2, appreciate it. Line 3, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
If you're upset about Arizona and Colorado taking so long, and nobody's talking about Colorado because it doesn't make a hill of beans of difference, but hey, that's what happens when you leave something very important up to the states. You wind up with 50 different ways of doing it, and if you don't like it, that's tough. It's left to the states. That's what you people wanted.
All right. Thank you, line 3. Let's go 330-729-9977. Line 1, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Shutting down our pipelines, that's huge. We're in for trouble. And people who don't like Trump, they don't understand how to think and what's going on. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, line 1. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. Line 2, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Can someone please explain to me why blue is celebrating a loss and red is disappointed in a win?
Interesting. All right. Thank you, line 2. 330-729-9977. Line 1, go ahead. You're on Radio Graffiti.
I also want to say happy Veterans Day to all my brothers and sisters in arms out there. And I hope everybody's having a great day and has a better holiday. God bless America.
Amen to that. 330-729-9977. Let's go to line 3. You're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
The Pennsylvania state flower is a bloomin' idiot.
Nice. There, line 3, thank you for that. 330-729-9977. Line 1, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Tim Ryan's working at a local pizza shop now.
Ouch. Okay. 330-729-9977. Line 3, you're on Radio Graffiti. Go ahead. You there?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Radio Graffiti, you're up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that fossil fuel is a misnomer. There's no such thing. It can be regenerated in 5 to 6 years. Secondly, you can vote on paper ballots. You don't have to use the electronic Chinese voting machines. Just so you know, next time you vote, ask for a paper ballot. They'll give it to you.
All right. Thank you, line 2. Line 1, Radio Graffiti. Go ahead.
Blooming idiot. I should have thought of that one.
All right. Well, that's Radio Graffiti. Thank you so much for everybody who called in and shared those Radio Graffiti items with us. It was a great show. Thanks for all the participation, everybody. I hope you guys enjoy the weekend and stay warm, stay out of the rain. And thank you for sharing everything with me during this show today. We'll catch you next time. This has been Joe Danier for In for Dan Rivers today. Have a good one.
Warm the car up. All right. What can I leave you with? New innovation out here, friends. Glass coffins. Glass coffins.